Again, that was Christian Miller.
It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well, ready for the weekend, man. We got a lot of fun stuff to dive into today. NFL Draft Round 1 took place yesterday. We're definitely going to discuss that. Plus, we got a special guest at the top of the hour, Brooks Austin, the film guy. One guy that you guys definitely enjoy checking out, watching his content, where he's going to join us again. He will be returning here at the top of the hour, and we'll be doing a little bit of a post-spring Alabama football breakdown, taking a look at this football team as they prepare to go into the summer conditioning program after a little bit of a break, and then get ready to go back to work. So we'll definitely take a look at Alabama and a number of other teams, because I know that Brooks has been able to watch spring games from Texas A&M, Ohio State, Georgia, and the likes of some others. So we'll talk about kind of the post-spring outlook on a number of teams, especially ones that are either contenders or could be on Alabama's schedule. And we'll probably get his thoughts here on this first round of the NFL draft as well, because last night was the first round of the draft. Chase, Wyatt, Reed, you guys, I don't know if you got to watch it. I'm sure you did, or you probably got to see some of it, but got to say congratulations to the B-Sci-Fi members that heard their names called last night in round 1. Ended up having 2 Alabama players selected, back-to-back selections, I must add, which was really cool. Caden Proctor being the first name from Alabama taken last night to the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, a really fun place to be, I would imagine. So I will say I'm a little I'll get to that in a second. A little concerned, I will say, him being paired up with Miami, man. If you heard what Coach Saban was talking about, like, hey, when he's in the building, everything's great, but when he's out of it, man, trying to keep him in shape and whatnot can get a little bit concerning. Miami, they probably got a lot of good food down there. I know they got some seafood and all types of restaurants and things. So listen, he's going to have to make sure that he's really locked in and staying away from too many of those nice restaurants that they have down there. But I don't know who wouldn't want to play down in Miami with the weather they got, all the things that they offer. I mean, whether it's F1 and soccer, they got anything you can imagine. So really cool stuff. Then of course, Tai Simpson, who arguably probably was the biggest winner of last night's draft. And I mean individually. I'm not talking about teams. I'm saying as a player, I don't think anybody hit the lottery quite like Tai Simpson did last night in terms of fit. I mean, just the outlook on kind of what's going to be expected of him, who he's paired with, the coaches, the organization, even where he got picked. I mean, we'll discuss and dive into all of that. Now, on the Rams side of things, I don't know if I can grade it as high, even though I understand why they did it. I still wouldn't grade it as high. But for him, I would give it an A+++ for individually where he ended up landing. So really cool stuff. But I really just want to do an overall recap of round 1 because there is a couple storylines from last night and definitely some interesting things, some things you kind of expected. For example, Fernando Mendoza being the first name taken off the board. I must say, he just never fails to surprise me with stuff. Did you guys get to see the clip where he got the phone call and his ringtone was like, what I don't know what you call that instrument, but it wasn't just the standard Apple ringtone. It's like, of course, this guy would have that ringtone, but I'll say this, I love it, man. He just seems so organic and I don't see how anybody could dislike Fernando Mendoza. He ended up doing it at home. He cited that he wanted to really be surrounded by all the people that helped him get to where he was at, and it included a whole bunch of people. He had the indoor portion, and the outdoor portion was even more. And I don't think he specifically mentioned this, but I do know his mother does deal with some health issues that could potentially, and again, I'm kind of speculating here, make it a little bit more difficult for her to travel and do things like that. So I just thought it was really cool to see that. And as respectful as he was, he said, hey, even if whatever I have to do to make it, to do as much as I need to do for the draft itself, because clearly they would love to have the number 1 pick there in attendance at Pittsburgh, walking across that stage. But he made sure he did everything on his behalf. So really cool stuff with that. No big shocker there. But there were a couple shockers, and we'll talk about some of those here in a minute. But Reed, you're a Vegas fan, if I remember correctly. So I mean, no shocker there. Everybody, I think, you could have probably bet $1 million and felt comfortable doing so that Fernando Mendoza was going to be the number 1 pick How you feeling about that? Again, no surprise here, but now that it's the deal is done, how you feeling?
Well, you know what? I'm just honestly feeling great. From being a Vegas fan, I guess I joined the Raiders when their last season in Oakland. And so ever since, there's really never been that franchise guy. Of course, we've had Derek Carr, which, that's my guy. But, when he joined, he wasn't really that franchise guy. And so now I'm interested because this is the first season where I'm like, hey, I'm actually like looking forward to actually getting some wins. Now, credit, is it going to be perfect the first year? No. But I do think with Mendoza's character, both on and off the field, I think that he's bound for success.
It's hard to imagine him not having success. Now, of course, we know it could take some time. When you get drafted that high, you're going to a team, unless there was some crazy trade for someone to trade up that far, but you're going to a team that's, like you mentioned, in a rebuild phase, or they're just a bad football team. So it's going to take more pieces. I'm curious to see what they continue to put around him. Ashton Genty, we know he's a very special player at running back. Not too sure about y'all's offensive line. I'd imagine there's definitely some work that needs to be done there, 100%. And I got to go back and really think about
Brock
the defense.
Bowers.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, another good piece. So, I mean, you got some good young talent, especially on the offensive side of the football, that you can build around. So that definitely is encouraging. Max Crosby is back in the building after taking a brief vacation, heading over to the Ravens for, I don't know, maybe 24 hours to do a physical before he headed right back to Vegas. Kind of some interesting stuff there. But listen, I think there's definitely some optimism for you guys to have some young pieces to build around, and we'll just have to see the other decisions that they make. But I really like Fernando Mendoza. I know there's a lot of back and forth between who's the better quarterback. It seemed like majority of the crowd were clearly leaning Mendoza, which is, he went number one for a reason. But there were some people, whether it be Dan Orlovsky and others, what's his name? The guy that did the sit down with Ty not long ago, Chase, whatever his name is, played quarterback for a while. But a lot of people really high on Tai Simpson. And you can understand if you look at the traits that could translate or that should translate to the next level. There's a lot to like about Ty. Now, there's definitely, some concerns, just like any other prospect. But I will say this, man. I always thought Mendoza, like when I watched this tape, and I watched a lot of the games later on, which were probably some of his better games. He was going against better competition. I was impressed with what he did. So I do believe he's going to make a great quarterback. Definitely a little bit different situation than Ty, given that he's going to be expected to be the guy right here, right now. Tai Simpson in a situation where he's clearly going to have a chance to kind of sit back and relax a little bit, just like he did while he was here at the University of Alabama. Granted, he was competing, in quarterback battles, but to be able to sit there and learn from the likes of Matthew Stafford, a guy who was reigning MVP from last football season, I don't think it gets any better. System-wise, he's a perfect fit for what they do. He's a football junkie. He's a brainiac of the game, comes from a football family, his dad being head coach at UT Martin. Sean McVay is literally, there couldn't be a better fit there. And clearly this organization fell in love with them. And we always talk about this on the show. All it takes is one team to really fall in love with you, right? And that team clearly was the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know how much you guys have heard from, after the pick was made. A lot of the details, starting to make their way in the media. But allegedly, Tai Simpson's dad has a good relationship with the GM of the Rams, which, okay, that's not that big of a deal. But then when you start hearing things like during like the latter half of the football season, they already were kind of, having some exchanges. And I don't think Ty even had an agent at that point, because I also heard that even in December, when he was fielding offers from Miami, they hadn't, made a decision on who their representation would be. So just kind of interesting stuff, because, it paints a picture like the Rams felt like they had their guy back to when he still was in a Crimson Tide uniform, hadn't even made the decision that he was going to enter the NFL draft, which to me is just kind of crazy if you really think about it. This ain't high school where, colleges are recruiting you like that. To hear the likes of the Rams, almost somewhat recruiting them, which it even feels more like recruiting, because then you hear his parents, when they were seeking advice from the general manager of the Rams, they hosted them in their facility before he even made a decision to enter the NFL draft. So the more these details come out, it's just kind of very, very interesting. But at the end of the day, we said it. It's all about a team falling in love with you. You could have 31 other teams basically say, nah, we're good on this guy, at least at this spot. But one team say, no, he is our guy. He is our franchise quarterback. He fits what we're looking for. He is going to come in here, whether it's playing now or 3 or 4 years down the road. This is the guy that we want to lead our football team at some point in time, and we're going to make that decision to take him. And that's exactly what happened with Tai Simpson. And again, couldn't have worked out better for him. Now, there are a lot of people that are kind of giving a little bit of pushback on the pick, and I can understand why. When you look at Los Angeles, you're talking about a football team that initially had the 29th pick, meaning they were a really dang good football team. Matter of fact, I mean, just, a few inches away from really, probably competing for a Super Bowl, right? Seahawks ended up going and winning it, one of the divisional rivals. But it's one of those things where they also have a really good football team. If you don't necessarily feel like there's somebody you have to have at that spot right there and then that you couldn't maybe get in round 2, I believe they have 2 picks this evening, then I think it makes sense to plan for the future, knowing that that MVP quarterback that you do have is in fact, in his late 30s, and, he's not getting any younger. But on the other hand, you do kind of think like, well, dang, you're this close from winning the Super Bowl last season. You still got a lot of those people on your team. You do make a trade for McDuffie, who I think is a dang good football player. He helps bolster your secondary, so that's good. But you can't help but wonder, like, man, like, I feel like they could have used a receiver. Devontae Adams getting a little bit older. Puka Nacua having some of his issues off the field. Now, this is a part, like I just mentioned, they can still get themselves a good receiver in round 2. So I guess what I'll say before we hit this break, and we'll continue to talk about this and hear some clips kind of breaking it down from a number of different angles. If you felt that convicted that Tai Simpson was your guy for the future, the heir to Matthew Stafford at some point in time, which clearly is the case here, it makes sense because you expect them to be a good football team. There's a deep quarterback class, at least it looks like that right now, for next football season. But the likelihood of them having that, that luxury of getting one of those guys next season, without a doubt, will require a lot of draft capital being traded to move up if we anticipate kind of where things would fall next football season. So there's so many different ways to look at this thing, and we're going to talk about it more, even though I probably just laid out pretty much everything just then, kind of jumped the gun here. But we're going to dive back into it. We'll hear some clips. We'll recap round number 1. And, of course, we'll kind of preview tonight. You got day 2 of the NFL draft that will be back on this evening. And, of course, at the top of the hour, we will be joined by Brooks Austin, the film guy, doing a post-spring Alabama football breakdown. I got a big question I'm going to ask him that I saw kind of coming up. Alabama 2026 kind of piggybacks off what we've been talking about the past couple of days. Contender or pretender? I got to ask him that question. We'll get his thoughts and more right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Local news when you need it. The Tuscaloosa Thread, powered by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Jeep.
All right, here we go, guys. We got some draft talk, man. We kind of been putting it on the back burner a little bit, but we're going to dive into it for a minute. And then at the top of the hour, we will have Brooks Austin. So for all you guys join the stream, I know you might see the thumbnail, which I thought was pretty dope, man. A little bit of a fun thumbnail I made. Yeah, he'll be on stream, Reed. Thank you. We're getting to that. We're going to do our post-spring breakdown with the film guy at the top of the hour. It's coming up, but we're going to talk some NFL draft first. But before we do that, man, let me remind you guys, if you're just joining us, please do us the favor of hitting that like button. It takes 2 seconds. Just helps us continue pushing things, helps us make even more content for you, brings more people in here, makes it more fun for you guys. So hit that like button. It always helps us out, supports us and what we're doing. And if you guys are new, subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing, man. We're gonna have a fun time here on the show this upcoming year, man. We got some fun stuff in the works, so I'm excited about that. Now let's see who we got in here. Yakenji, what's up? Happy Friday to you. We got Jake says graphic is fire. Couldn't be happier for Proctor and Ties in the best case scenario. Oh yeah, I mean, number one, big congratulations to both those guys, man, having their dreams come to a reality, getting to walk across that stage, continuing the streak for Alabama, both for first round picks, also quarterbacks taken. Really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. And happy for those guys. Like I mentioned, I think Tai Simpson probably, he made out like a fat rat. Like I don't think it gets better than the spot that he's in, given every single factor and circumstance that we mentioned. I know he had mentioned, he's ready to play now, but I think it's best case scenario that he sits. Listen, everybody in their mind, every athlete is going to think that they're ready to roll, that they're going to be the ones to turn around a franchise the first day they hit the NFL. And that's not going to happen. you only having 15 starts under your belt. I know he's very mature and he's been in college for a while, but he needed to get to a place where he could sit. I listen, and then one of the main reasons I say that is one of his biggest challenges while he was here in Tuscaloosa, when he was going through the other quarterback battles, was that, for him to kind of overcome some of those mistakes that he would make, it was hard for him. He'd have a bad play, and then it could end up snowballing and spiraling. Like, you talk to anybody on the staff, that was one of the main issues that he battled early on in his career. He could make all the throws, very smart player, all those things, but it was learning how to play the next play. Now, he's done a much better job of that. We've seen that. But you got to realize when you set foot in the NFL, man, you're going to have bad plays. And I don't care how good you are. I mean, you're talking about you're playing the best of the best. And so that's another reason why I think it's a really good idea, not just the lack of starts that he has, but also just knowing him. He's just such a competitor. That's where it comes from. You're such a competitor. You're a perfectionist, but you just got to learn, man. There's going to be mistakes to be made. I mean, Pat Mahomes, arguably the best active quarterback right now. He'll have a game where he throws a handful of picks, right? I mean, it happens. But it's about having the mentality, the right mentality to be able to move on and not let that affect the next drive, the next play, next series, next game, and so forth. But offsides, what's up, guys? Roll Tide, fellas. We got Bama Panthers fan. We got Money in here. What's up, guys? We got Ramon. What's going on? QD, my guy, what's up? Hold on, I'm going to get to some of y'all's things. We're about to come back here now. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're talking some NFL draft before we get into this Alabama post-spring breakdown with Brooks Austin, the film guy, at the top of the hour, so stay locked and loaded for that. It's coming up real soon. But first, we got to keep recapping and night one of the NFL draft, and that's what we're going to do here on the show. We talked already about, Tai Simpson landing with the Los Angeles Rams. Everybody pretty much saying that would be like the ideal case scenario for Tai Simpson. It ends up happening. And again, just a recap of how that ended up happening. The Rams had pick 29, initially from, where they finished, but they traded that pick for Trent McDuffie, damn good football player who's really going to help them out in the secondary. And they ended up extending him. So that was already good. But then they had this pick 13, pretty much fall in their laps from the trade that they made the year prior from Atlanta. So they already had this pick sitting there. You just traded, pick 29 for an all-pro cornerback that you really needed. So, Reed, I'll be honest with you, this felt kind of like a luxury pick. I mean, clearly they didn't need Tai Simpson right now. I mean, Matt Stafford, what is he, like 37? Do you know his exact age?
Yeah, I believe he's 37, but I'll fact check that.
Yeah, thank you. I think he's 37. Regardless, the guy just won the MVP trophy last year in the National Football League. I mean, and that's a big deal, right? I mean, we were talking about like the best player in the National Football League. So some people not too happy about the pick, including, a number of fans on the Los Angeles side. But again, I think there's just so many ways that you can look at this. And I know Dan Orlovsky has made good points. You have the answer, Reed?
Yeah, he's actually 38.
Oh, wow. So he's 38. So that I guess that makes it even more. I mean, think about it. 2 more years, he's 40 years old. And I think Brady retired at what? He was in his 40s. But I mean, listen, I don't remember the last time Brady won either a Super Bowl or MVP, like when he was up there in age. We know he still was playing at a high level. But my point is, Matt Stafford just won the MVP last year. So I totally understand people thinking, like, why would you not get him some weapons? Why would you not, you're right there from winning the Super Bowl. Why would you not try to find somebody that you feel like can maybe, really help your team out right now? Because to be fair, he's getting older. You don't really know how long Sean McVay is going to be there. Sean McVay is a young football coach, but I guess you just don't know. And sometimes it's important. You got to strike while the iron's hot. So I do understand that, but I also understand basically their messaging, which was that, hey, man, this is a guy that fits exactly what we do. I think they talked about, the system that he comes from, Ryan Grubb's system, a lot of pro style influence there, play action, under center. Talk about the pre and post snap reads. I mean, like I totally understand that. And if you're looking to invest in the future, man, I think it makes total sense. And it just all really, I guess, comes down to philosophy, right? I mean, you see a number of teams, they normally go after team needs, but then you got other franchises that lean a little bit more towards quote unquote wants or good fits or guys that they feel like are just the best player available, a la the Eagles. And I think that approach actually works out really well. I mean, look at the Eagles, man. You talk about a team that just continues to just get over, man. I mean, Mekhi Lemon, who I think would have been a good pick, and a lot of people I think assume, the Rams would have taken, which I'll be honest with you, I'm sure depending on how the season goes, there's probably going to be some people looking back and saying, see, you took a developmental quarterback when you could have got a guy like Lemon. I think Lemon's going to have a good year. I know you still got Smitty. I know you got A.J. Brown. And, people trying to hate on my guy, Jalen, like, oh, but they got Jalen Hurts. Dude, listen, man, Lemon is a damn good football player. And the fact that he fell in the lap of the Eagles, it's just like, well, somebody's got to stop Howie Rosen at this point. But, Reed, do you have any thoughts on the whole L.A. thing? I mean, do you – I guess from Ty's side, we all know, we all love it, right? I mean, there's no disagree. That's a perfect fit, perfect situation. We can check that. But from the Rams side of things, hate it, love it, kind of how would you assess their decision to take Tai Simpson?
I mean, if I'm in the Rams organization, kind of like you pointed out, and I feel like that this is our guy for the future, and you don't feel like there's going to be a guy next year that could, develop into, I guess you could say, Matthew Stafford's successor, then why not just take him, because there could have been an instance where I at least thought how maybe the Cardinals or maybe the Jets, someone wanted to trade up in the late first round, get that fifth-year option and take a chance on a guy wearing the Crimson Tide outfit, And so I wouldn't say necessarily it was a bad decision, but I think kind of like the question is saying, from what I've heard, is a lot of people are questioning, should it have been that high at 13 or should they have traded back? You know, but once again, you just never know what's going to happen in the draft. So what if you trade back and then someone else, takes them?
Yeah, that's a great point. And because to be fair, I think a lot of people would agree with what you're saying, Reed. They probably felt that you probably could have got him a little bit later. I think most people, even Dan Orlovsky, said he believed Ty would probably realistically fall in that 20-plus range. So there's no denying that. But like you just said, you never know. And I also was listening to some of the guys on the broadcast yesterday basically saying, hey, we started fielding a bunch of calls about Tai Simpson of GMs or, NFL personnel kind of poking around like, hey, what are you hearing about Ty? So there probably would have been another team. I know Arizona, a lot of people were throwing them out there. Whether it's a team trading up, trying to get him, you just never know. So I get it, man. If he's there, you take him. But the more that comes out, it feels so interesting because I even heard too that when I guess the Rams hosted Ty's parents before he even made the decision to, and I hope I got that right, but that was the way I heard it. Before he made the decision to declare, he was asked, matter of fact, that is how they said it, because I'm paraphrasing here. I guess the parents were saying, why would it be a good decision for Ty to declare for the NFL draft instead of returning? Because remember, Miami initially offered him like $5 million. He, I think, initially declined it. Then they came back with 6.5. And so they're trying to, weigh their options and totally understand that. But allegedly the GM responded to him that, well, because we're going to take him with the 13th pick and that his floor is the first round. So it's kind of an interesting thing, which I'll be the first one to tell you. You never take, when people are basically making, I guess, comments or statements or promises, quote unquote, during the draft process, you do not listen to that. You take it with a grain of salt. I mean, the Saints told my agent they were taking me in the third round. They did not take me in the third round. I mean, they literally called my agent and told him that, right? I mean, I remember Minka telling the story. I don't think he ever even spoke to Miami. Miami ended up drafting him. So you just can't take what you hear. Now, I will say the Panthers actually did tell me that they were going to take me when they took me. But it was kind of interesting how, I forgot how they said it, but I was talking to a scout. And what he said was, I can't remember exactly how it went, but I know, and I don't remember if it was before they took Brian in the first round or not. But I just remember he said, if you're still on the board at this time, Coach Rivera is going to take you. And I remember hearing them like, yeah, we'll see. Because this was actually like before, this was before they took Brian in the first round. That's what it was. They told me that if I was there at a certain spot, that they really liked me. They thought I was a great fit for what they were doing because they were moving more towards a 3-4 defense. And that they want to take me. They ended up taking Brian Burns in the first round. I'm like, all right, man, what the world, that's cap. Granted, I was not expecting them to take me in the first round, but I'm like, I had like a late second round all the way to a mid-round grade. So I'm like, you could have took me in the second or third round, day 2 type deal, but you drafted a guy in the first round at my position. So I was like, all right, that's not right. Then sure enough, they actually ended up taking me early in the 4th round when I still was there, even when they didn't need to take me because they already took Brian Burns. So they actually did live up to that. So I guess it just depends on who you talk to. But I want to listen to a couple of these reactions, right? Because a lot of people are talking about this. Is probably I don't know if you would call it the biggest surprise, probably one of the biggest surprise, I guess, of the evening. So first, let's take a listen to Sean McVay picking last night's first round of the NFL draft.
You look at it, I think the thing you liked about the body of work is, let's make one thing clear. This is Matthew's team. And you get a chance to be able to address, the backup quarterback. We've got Stetson. We've talked about the importance of Jimmy. So to be able to add somebody that you can evaluate a body of work where he was asked to play the position and a lot of things that do translate in terms of concepts, reading with his feet, some of the different things in the drop back in the play action game, the movement game. So there's a lot of things that Coach Grubb did that's very similar to kind of how we operate. So it made it an easier evaluation to be able to kind of say, all right, what would that look like if you did translate it to our level? But there was a lot of players that we liked, and there was a lot of thought that kind of went into it. And we do feel really fortunate that when you look at the 13th pick, we were able to get that where, Atlanta had an interest in getting a player last year. We would have taken Ferguson with our first round pick last year to move back to still get the guy that we wanted, and then to basically be able to get an extra pick. And then, oh, by the way, with your original one, go get a player like Trent McDuffie. So a lot of different things, but we're always going to make decisions that we think are best for the short and the long term. But, we'll be excited to be able to get to work with him, and that's where we're at.
So one thing for sure, he definitely made sure to confirm this is Matthew Stafford's team. And it's clear why he would do that. You don't want to tick off your starting quarterback who just won the MVP last year. And that happens, right? I mean, what was the situation? Was it with Atlanta? I guess who was it? Kirk Cousins there last year when they took Michael Penix, or is that? I can't remember exactly who it was, or maybe I'm drawing a blank. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that might have been 2 years ago because I think last year the Falcons went like double edge rusher.
Yeah, or 2 years ago, whenever it was, where they took Penix, right, kind of randomly in the first round. I don't think they informed. It was Kirk, right? Kirk was the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then I don't think they informed him that they were going to take a first rounder. Now they allegedly informed Matthew Stafford that they were in fact going to take Tai Simpson. But again, the more it comes out, I mean, it literally sounds like this whole thing was like brewing since almost like the I guess late fall, maybe December. I mean, everything that I've heard, and I got so many things booked, Martin. I know we got to hit this time out. I probably won't try to play every single detail. We'll probably pick a couple more. Then we'll really recap the whole round one, because I know you guys are fans of a number of teams. I know Smitty's a Bucks fan. They ended up landing Ruben Bain, which I think was a really solid pick. Now, I don't remember their whole depth chart, especially on the defense, but I like Ruben Bain a lot. I know a lot of questions about position, right? He's kind of a tweener. I mean, definitely could play some defensive end. I know they've run a little bit more of a 3-4. They got Chris Braswell there. So, I mean, like, do you play him at 3-4 outside backer sometimes? You play him at end. I think he's at like 260 something. So, I mean, for a 3-4 end, he probably would want to be a little bit bigger. But regardless, man, listen, some guys, or not some, there's a lot of guys that are just good football players. And I think sometimes we get too caught up on, hey, man, does this guy bend enough? Like David Bailey. I've been saying I like David Bailey. I like guys that can get to the quarterback. I like guys that are productive. And then we, during the offseason, what did we hear? Man, look at this clip, man. Look at his angles here. Look at this bend. I mean, he's too stiff. Is he a little bit more stiff of an athlete? Yeah, he is. But he also had 14.5 sacks and was tied for the lead in the nation in sacks. And you just watch how he gets to the quarterback. I mean, the dude has a number of moves, really good counter. You see him work that spin. He can still bend. And I just always tell people, man, like, go watch all these different football players. Some are going to, yes, ideally, when you look at traits, that stuff does translate well. But you know how many guys, Reed, that are highly productive that might not necessarily have every checkbox that you would imagine? Jerry Rice ran, like a 4.6 something? I mean, everybody just said, oh, he runs a 4.6, but just don't even pay attention to him. Dude ended up being one of the best receivers to ever play the game. Can't overthink some stuff. We'll talk some more about round one. And again, we got the film guy, Brooks Austin, joining us at the top of the hour, doing a post-spring Alabama football breakdown and more right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property? All right, let's see what we got here in the chat. Yeah, I got a number of different things. This is Coach Saban talking about Tai Simpson here. Let me play this.
Well, this is the kind of player, the kind of person that you want in your organization.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good leader. He's a hard worker. He's got great ability. He's got a quick, smooth release. He's got a strong arm. He's accurate. He can throw the ball in short windows. So I really like Ty. I think the fact that he only played 13 games, his best football's ahead of him, and he's getting in the best situation he could be in, going to an organization that has a veteran quarterback, and he will not have to play immediately and have a chance to develop. This is perfect.
He's got Matthew Stafford,
Yeah.
the reigning MVP, by the way, and Sean McVay. Kind of teaching him, and he's getting mental reps and watching the best in the league do it. So great spot
Perfect.
for him.
Got into a pretty good situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in terms of him individually, I mean, I don't think anybody won draft night quite like Tai Simpson did. Now, was it that big of a win for the Rams? Currently, I don't think many people would agree on that. But long term, it could be, right? But you have to wait and see. But that's like every draft pick. I mean, everybody can sit there and say, oh, our team won draft night, but you'll never really know until you really look back on it. So you always got to, just keep it real in that regard. Let's see. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. If you're wondering what's going on. I believe it's the best situation for him. Yeah, absolutely. Production over height. I draft Bain. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean by I think people sometimes get caught up in the what was arm length like. Yeah, listen, I understand those can be concerns. So you talk about as a defensive lineman. I heard my former teammate Gerald McCoy. I know Smitty knows McCoy. He played for Tampa a long time. I played with him in Carolina, man. Great dude. And he was talking about Bain. And to be fair, yeah, I mean, like length is a big deal for defensive linemen. Being able to create separation is a big deal. But at the same time, if I go turn on the tape and I'm watching this guy with those quote unquote limitations, I shouldn't say quote unquote because it is fair. That's a limitation. And he still is dominant as he is. It's not so much of a concern for me at the next level. Could it be? Could it hinder him slightly? Absolutely. But if he was able to do it, and he's doing it again, especially at like a school like Miami, which I understand they've had struggles past few years, but you look at last season, they made it to the national championship game. You look at the teams he ended up playing in the playoffs and whatnot. I mean, dude was playing good competition and was a very effective football player. It's no different than Bryce Young. Everybody was questioning Bryce Young's size so much, and I said on this show like, listen, man. Could durability be a concern knowing the hits he's going to take, especially going to a team like my Panthers who struggled tremendously, protecting the quarterback, at least at that time? Absolutely. But let's not overthink this. This guy was a Heisman Trophy winner at the University of Alabama and played in the SEC. You know what I mean? Like, so my point is, like, is it okay to question some of these, limitations or concerns? Absolutely. But when you start kind of overreacting and you pass up on really good football players because you lean into this guy has all these traits, but didn't really do shit when he was in college, I think that's when you start to get in trouble a little bit. At least that's how I feel. If you look at it, the success rate versus guys that, were productive and improved it already versus guys that are developmental, I guarantee you're probably going to have a little bit more success on the latter. Here we go. Performer. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We are talking NFL Draft Night 1. We're recapping it before we get into this Alabama football post-spring breakdown with Brooks Austin, the film guy. So for all you guys waiting on that, don't worry. It's coming up very soon. The clock is ticking. But as of now, we are talking NFL Draft Night 1. We've talked at great length about Tai Simpson going to the Rams. Again, I know a lot of people definitely voicing opinions. Definitely a number of people a little upset with the pick. It's draft night. That's going to happen. But, at the end of the day, we're rooting for him, right? He's an Alabama guy, and I don't think it could have been any better for him. So great for him. And again, we talked a little bit about Caden Proctor, man. Interesting situation there. Miami's definitely in the rebuild. Curious to see where they end up playing him. I know he expects to play tackle. I know he even kind of was alluding to that when he was talking last night. We'll have to just wait and see. They ended up signing Malik Willis in the offseason. So you got to get your new quarterback that you just signed in free agency. You got to get him some help. They're looking to Caden Proctor to do that. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you because I'm a big tape guy, right? I go off what my eyes tell me. I don't go off of what all this hype and all these people in the media say or what fans say. When you watch the tape of Caden Proctor, there is a lot that can be concerning, right? We all know he struggles with speed off the edge, without a doubt. But there's a lot of good on his tape too, Reed. And we're talking about him. This guy's 6'7". He's slimmed down to like 350-something, and he is powerful. He's strong, especially at the point of attack. You watch him throw guys around. My biggest thing is, listen, if you move him into guard, I think he can really excel there. If he's going to play tackle, he's got to be disciplined. This is the biggest thing to me with Caden Proctor. If this dude, and I'm not trying to call out, say he's lazy or saying he doesn't take this serious, but his former head coach, Nick Saban, just said it on national television. Like, a little bit of a concern when he's, not in the building and you got eyes on him trying to really help keep him, disciplined when it comes to this. If this dude could be a consistent, because his frame, he's going to be a bigger guy, 340, no heavier than 350. I mean, we saw the way he moved at Pro Day, and I get it, it's Pro Day, socks, jocks, and T-shirts, but you see it, man. I mean, for a guy to be that big, that athletic, you know how powerful he is. He's a 3-year starter. I mean, listen, he's got all the potential in the world, but at this level, it's even more important than ever, because I'll be the first one to tell you, Alabama, you were sheltered. You're in a bubble. You got a nutritionist. They're feeding you all these things. Now, they're a little bit more independent now, given NIL is a thing, and that it's a little bit different than when I was there. But, I mean, you got all these factors involved, and it's almost like, man, you just got to show up. Alabama's going to offer you all the resources in the world. You got to show up. You get to the NFL, this is a different story, Reed. I mean, like, now they expect these things, and you have nutritionists, you have the weight room, you have things that you need to do, but there's a lot more freedom is what I'm getting at. And then you go to a place like Miami, you really got to be locked in. I mean, I just ask any football players that have played down there. You got to be locked in, man. It's Miami. And so this is my take on Caden going there. If he can, lock in, be focused, and take care of himself physically and make sure he maintains proper shape, I think he could end up being a damn good football player, even if that is making a move to guard. But I think, listen, if I'm him, I'd be happy. Great weather, going to the Dolphins, man. Organizationally, I think it's a decent organization, solid organization. I mean, they've had success with some players back in the day. I haven't heard anything bad, really, I guess, about them, but I don't know. Definitely happy for him as well. All right, real quick, Reed, let's recap some of these other picks. We already talked about Fernando Mendoza going number 1 overall. Number 2, you had David Bailey out of Texas Tech. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a really good football player. I'm not overthinking the whole bend and all that stuff. What I like about him is he's a great pass rusher. He's proven that he can get to the quarterback. He's very effective at it, has a number of moves, got great length, things like 6'5", 250. There's questions about his ability to stop the run. To me, I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. I'm not saying he's elite at it, but I've seen him do a pretty solid job there. And I think if you just, work with him, right, and just get him to really buy into it, earning the right to rush, I think he's going to be a good football player. New York Jets, they're a team that really struggled with getting after the quarterback last season. I think they were like second to last in the NFL. So it makes sense. There were some conversations between him or Arvell Reese. Big conversation there. Arvell ended up going to the New York Football Giants, my dad's team. Would be curious to get his thoughts on that. Because I'll be honest with you, Reed. I mean, they just signed my former teammate. And again, actually, happy birthday, Brian Burns, man. It's his birthday, by the way. They signed him to a big deal not long ago. I think he was like top 2 or 3 in the league in sacks. And you look, they also drafted Abdul Carter from Penn State, 2 years ago, maybe? Or it might even have just been last year. But then even just a few years ago, they got drafted Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. So we're talking, this is the 4th guy that's somewhat of an edge that they ended up drafting in the first round. Kind of confusing a little bit. Some people thinking that, they could end up trading one. Probably, Thibodeau doesn't sound like that's going to be the case just yet. But I don't know. I like the Jets going with David Bailey because he is a proven pass rusher. I look at Arvell Reese, damn good athlete, but he's got to learn to rush. I mean, I watched him do some of those pass rush drills. It's evident that it would not be something that he has polished. Like, he's got to be developed there. And if you need an answer and you're taking somebody that high, I think they probably made a better decision there. But with the Giants, I'm like, dang, they're just kind of being greedy at outside backer. What did you make of that pick, Reed?
Well, I think a lot of people have Arvell Reese outside of Mendoza, they had him going to the Jets. I think it's strictly because of not only his measurables, his size, but I think also his ceiling too. Like I know, like you pointed out, I think his run game does need to get polished a good bit, but just strictly his explosiveness, I think, is the one thing that really kind of sets him apart from all the other, not only linebackers, but also edges as well.
No, that makes sense. Listen, I just, when you take somebody that high, I want somebody like that's coming in playing. You know what I mean? And Arvell Reese is going to come in and play.
And see, another thing too is you got to think like some GMs, like they might just even go best available too. Like that's really what I've realized, at least with the Raiders, is not. Of course, last year we were in need of a running back, so we took Ashton Genty. But the year before that, we already had Michael Mayer, a second-round pick, as our tight ends like solidified, and then we went out and got Brock Bowers, which ended up turning out to be great.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I mean, and I think both guys can end up being good. My thing with Arvell Reese is, as talented as he is just kind of where is he going to play, or what do you know what I mean? Because he's got a lot of versatility. I guess that's my biggest point. And I look at the Jets; they needed like pass rush right now. You know what I mean? And I'm just like Arvell Reese. I think he could turn into a really good pass rush. I think people are kind of envisioning him at some point being maybe like that Micah Parsons type, a guy that didn't really do it a whole bunch of college, but you see the athleticism and you're like, man, I mean, with that athleticism, he's going to have elite, burst, first step quickness. We can work on these moves. We can teach him how to use leverage and do this and do that and learn a counter move. So I guess it's all about philosophy, but you talked about drafting a running back early. Jeremiah Love, a lot of people not really feeling that pick just because backs, when you take them early, a lot of the time people are like, what are we doing here? But at the same time, I mean, people are comparing this guy to, at least in terms of his impact and all the things that he can do, a guy that played here, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, or you look at, trying to think, dude from the Falcons, was Bijan Robinson. I mean, like these backs that are so dynamic, can make guys miss. They have big play, explosive ability. That's what people see in Jeremiah Love. And a lot of people had him as a top 5 overall player. Some people even saying he's the best football player in the draft. I'm not necessarily mad at the pick, but I think it was Booger McFarland that made the comment, like, when you're building a football team, you want to go inside out. You got to build up the trenches. You got to get the big guys, right? If not, it doesn't matter. We say this all the time. Just like Alabama right now, part of the reason that I have so many concerns for this upcoming season, I like a lot of the young skill that we have, but I'm not convinced just yet on the offensive line. Really the trench play in general, which I've been saying that's been Alabama's biggest issue for several years now. I've been saying that repeatedly, right? I don't know if Arizona, maybe they have another plan, but that was an interesting one. I know we got to hit a timeout, but as we round down, yet Carnell Tate at 4. Ohio State continues its dominance of putting wide receivers in the National Football League, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon because you've got Jeremiah Smith this upcoming year, and then the true freshman and what's his name?
Chris Henry Jr.
Yeah, Chris Henry Jr. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get this link for Brooks while I talk, but yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to continue having first-round picks, and I think there's definitely a streak that they've got right now that just continued. Kansas City, they traded off McDuffie. They ended up replacing him with Delaney from LSU, the cornerback. Like him a lot, man. Really, really good football player. Sonny Styles ends up going to the Commanders. Another one of my former teammates, Frankie Louvu, who was a dog at inside backer. Now you're putting Sonny Styles in the fold. I think that's a really, really nice pick there. Jordan Tyson, man, for the Saints. That was probably another pick that a lot of people kind of were like, what are we doing here? Well, listen, he's a really good football player. Injury concerns are definitely a thing. But, I mean, they wanted to get their quarterback a weapon, and I guess they felt really confident in him. And a lot of people like Lemon, but Jordan Tyson ended up being selected by the Saints. Then we'll skip through some of these. The Browns to get themselves Fano out of Utah, get themselves a nice offensive lineman, followed up by Miami. That one kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought he would have been the first offensive lineman taken, but I did hear that he might have had like a back issue or some type of hernia or something. Not hernia, slip disc. Maybe that could have caused a little bit of a concern there. This is a big one I want to hit real quick, Reed. Caleb Downs, man. I mean, I think that's a phenomenal pick for Dallas. They trade up. They end up getting Caleb Downs right there. And I was listening to, I think, Malik Neighbors talking about it, man. Like, I think he was hoping, New York drafted. If they could have got both those guys, it would have been amazing. But Dallas wasn't going to let that happen. And to me, I think Caleb Downs is one of the most safe picks you could have in this year's draft. I mean, you're talking about Coach Saban and Ryan Day both mentioned that this guy could have been a first-round pick as a true freshman. Josh Chapman even, I think, calling him a, solidified gold jacket guy when he first saw him here. I think that was Pat McAfee's words, something like that. But listen, I think Caleb Downs is going to be phenomenal in Dallas. And then, we'll do the second half of this first round. We come back, but first we get this timeout. Then at the top of the hour, we got the film guy Brooks Austin joining us to break down this Alabama football team post-spring. So we'll do that here on the Miller's Edge. Don't go anywhere. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I wanted to tell you about our friends over at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Founded by attorney and professor Adam Lamparello, helping students at every level with mentoring, exam prep, applications, and career planning. Adam. All right. We'll come back. We got a couple minutes real quick, and then we'll have the film guy joining us for this post-spring breakdown. A lot of you guys are excited about that, waiting on that. We're going to get to it. We're just talking a little bit of the NFL draft round number 1, but we'll have that coming up here shortly. But in the meantime, if you guys are excited for that, man, make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill. All right. We got that sent over. Should be good to go now. Let's see. Do something real quick with that there. Whoops. Speaking of when we get to this whole breakdown thing, I'm going to ask Brooks his thoughts on this. Contender or pretender for Alabama? And I think this is where I heard it at on this clip right here.
Alabama plus 155 to make the college football playoff. They're going to start a new quarterback. We don't know exactly who that is. That didn't stop them from making the playoff a year ago and winning a playoff game with a new quarterback. Crimson Tide, contender or pretender to make the college football playoff?
Man, I want to my brain because it feels like it hasn't been great in Tuscaloosa. But if you look at the board, it's 9-4 and 11-4, right? There was a little bit of progress last year. But I think we saw the SEC championship game, and that was a smackdown. And then you saw Indiana smack them down. I think they got to be on the contender list. They've got to be on the contender list, but it does feel I don't put them on the national championship list, but a contender to make the playoff.
Seeing Alabama with an 8.5 win total, I'm so
weird.
It is weird.
It's like watching your mom kiss another man that's not your dad.
Even with people playing that well.
What? What? That was wild. I didn't listen to the end of that, and I just heard that for the first time. That was interesting. But anyway, that's where I heard. I know we were talking about Alabama winning a championship in 26, but I heard that clip from On 3. So we'll ask Brooks his thoughts on that as well. Let me go ahead and get these highlights pulled up. That way we could take a look while we talk. And welcome back into this Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Again, we are a few minutes away from being joined by Brooks Austin, the film guy, right here on the show. We're going to do a little bit of a post-spring breakdown. When I say breakdown, I just want to give you guys a heads up. Probably not going to be really breaking down tape a whole bunch, maybe a couple plays while the highlights roll, but more so like a football team breakdown, kind of analysis of kind of where Alabama stands coming out of the spring as they get ready to roll into a little bit of a break before they come back and start their summer workout program. But before we get to that top hour break and we welcome Brooks on here, I want to hit the second half of the first round recap. We ended with Caleb Downs being a really good pick by the Dallas Cowboys. Really like that. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be an all-pro type football player. One of the safest picks, in my opinion, in the draft. You get to Caden Proctor at 12, Tai Simpson at 13. We already talked about those picks. 14, the Ravens win offensive line out of Penn State. 15, I'll mention this one, Ruben Bain. Talked about him a little bit. Really like him as a football player. I'm sure Smitty's pretty happy. I think I saw him comment here in the chat. I think he's definitely going to be a solid addition there. I see him being very effective, and I don't think the arm length will bother him too much, but I guess that will be determined. Now, the Jets, and I saw Jake mention this, man. Jets had themselves a solid draft. Listen, that tight end that they drafted out of Oregon at pick number 16, Sadiq, I mean, he's a specimen. Reed, I don't know how much you've watched of him or seen him, but I mean, this guy, I mean, you're talking about every type of athleticism trait that you would want. I mean, he, great, catching the football. I mean, his dude is, I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL. They pair him with David Bailey that they drafted with the second overall pick. And I'll be honest, I got to say, I feel like that's a pretty solid haul for the New York Jets. So how are you feeling about that, Reed?
Yeah, no, Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, that's I mean, 6'3", 240, and even though he's a tight end, plays like a receiver. He's real strong, physical. He can block really well. I think that's a very underrated statistic with especially receivers. Like, if you can block well, then I think that's really speaks on behalf of your character. But yeah, he ran a 4.40. He had a 43.5 vertical. I mean, that's a guy, man.
He's a dude, man. He's a dude. So him and Bailey going to the Jets, man. It sounds like they're brewing something with some young talent there. And quarterback wise, who do they have currently right now? I don't even remember who they have, because they had Justin Fields. They ended up he's not there anymore, right? Or is he still there?
Oh, I don't even drawing a blank.
No, you're good. I do. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't keep up with every single roster or where people have gone this offseason. Is Geno Smith back in New York? Is that what Jake just said? Let me see.
Yeah, that's right, because he's not with us anymore.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, what's his name? I just said his name, Justin Fields. Because where did he end up? He ended up going somewhere, right? Yeah, they got Geno Smith, who, to be fair, I mean, Geno can play some good ball still. I mean, he just a couple years ago with Seattle, he had himself a good year before going to the Raiders, and I don't think it went too well, and now he's with the Jets.
So yeah, Justin Fields is actually with the Chiefs.
Okay. I appreciate all you guys. Reed, you doing the research, all you guys in the chat. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I could see them if Carson Beck's still there. A lot of people have been talking Carson Beck, climbing some boards. Maybe they get them. They're going to get them a quarterback in this draft. I don't know if they expect whoever they get to be a guy that they're leaning on this year. Maybe they expect him to overtake Geno at some point. But regardless, they got some good young talent. Now, you got to remember, they did trade away Quinnen Williams, and they traded away the cornerback, Sauce Gardner. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to get the guys they just got, they probably picked up some of these picks. I get that, but I mean, Quinnen's just such a special player at defensive tackle, man. He stops the run, can pass rush. Getting rid of Sauce Gardner, I don't think was that big of a deal. I hate to say it like that, but I feel like you could replace. He's a really good corner, but I think you could replace him there. But I don't know. I would have kept Quinnen. Imagine Quinnen, then you get David Bailey, man. That would have been really smooth. Anyway, let's finish up these picks before we hit this top of the hour break, because I know we got to do that in a second. Any more surprises? We'll just kind of skip over some of these, man. We talked about Malik Lemon going to the Eagles. The rich, I guess, keep getting richer. They keep getting the best deals, the best budgets, whatever the case may be. Mesidor, I like Mesidor a lot. The other edge from Miami. I know people are talking about his age. He's like 25. Listen, you can play for a while at edge, in my opinion, right? You take care of your body. Regardless, I think the Chargers got themselves a really good pass rusher as well. Really interesting deal with him, because he played like nose guard like early in his career. Then to see the work he does off the edge now is kind of crazy to think that that's a former nose tackle. Let's see. Any other surprises here? Anything big? I don't see anything or remember anything that I would say really, really surprising. Peter Woods going to the Chiefs. I like Peter Woods. He's an Alabama native. Love to see what he does. I mean, he's going to be paired up with Chris Jones. That's a great person to learn from, man. So that's really good for him. And then the Jets also ended up getting Omar Cooper. So they got themselves another weapon for Geno Smith or whoever ends up being the quarterback there. So Jets, without a doubt, I do think they have themselves a really nice first-round haul, and hopefully we can see that come to fruition. Last but not least, I will mention Kedrick Falk, really good player out of Auburn. He ended up being drafted by the Titans there, helping that defensive line. So pretty interesting first round. But there's some big names still on the board for round 2. A couple Alabama guys, or at least one that I can mention, and we'll do that later on. But we'll talk about that after we're joined by Brooks Austin, the film guy, right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
In the NBA, the Timberwolves held the Nuggets to 11 points in the first quarter and came out on top 113-96. Minnesota now leads the series 2-1. The Hawks survived 109-108 against the Knicks.
There he is.
Atlanta leads.
Turn that down. Brooks, can
How
you
we
hear me?
doing? Yeah, I got you. You got me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, man. Good, man. How's everything?
I'm good, man. A little exhausted, but last night was the culmination of a lot of work for me, but we got it done. So
What you clearly the draft, but were you doing a live or a show on here?
yeah, so I was on I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dan Le Batard show, but I was on their show as their draft analyst. So what I told them, because if you've ever done if you've ever watched their show, they are chaos. Like they are off the walls. Like there's not a lot of like real football analysis there. So my job was basically, if anybody gets drafted at any point, you can come to me and I'll tell you who they are as a football player. And that's easy, the first 20 picks.
Right.
But the last 12 picks, you're studying 60 guys that could go in that 12. So, dude, I think I was watching 6 hours of film because Catapult tracks how much you're watching. I think I was watching like 6.5 hours of film a day for like
goodness gracious,
for like 3 weeks. Because
dang,
I can't. I don't know about you, dude, but I can't talk about football players, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to sit there and give you talk about your negatives unless I've watched at least 3 games of just you. I'm gonna go sit there and grind you out against the best and see what you really are. I'm not gonna sit there and run my mouth about you unless I've watched a good bit of you. You know what I'm saying?
That. Yeah, no, I agree.
So it was such an exhaustive prep for 4 hours of work. I would say it wasn't. If I was a draft guy, I would do that, but I'm not a draft guy. I'm a college football guy, But I got turned into a draft guy last night, and it was fun. It was good, but yeah, it was a lot of anxiety in that too, because the whole time I'm sitting there in the end of that 4-hour stream going, God, I hope they don't pick somebody I didn't actually study. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, congrats to you to get that done, man. That definitely is no easy feat. But I have a feeling there's some of these national guys that sit on the desk of the draft that probably are talking about dudes they didn't even really get to, like you mentioned, actually watch several games.
Oh,
yeah. No, I don't think there's a way you can even. I mean,
for me, I hear it. It's always, but matter of fact, it's always the football guys that do it. It's never the Field Yates of the world that says something about a guy where I'm like, you did not watch him. It's always the former fired football coach that's obviously not watching it like he claims to. Brian Kelly, now, I don't mean to take a shot at a guy or kick a dead horse while he's down, but he's got a pretty big job now. I guarantee I've already seen him. I've already caught it. He's saying stuff already where I'm like, you're not watching. So I can't wait to see what happens this fall. He's going to say something about one of these SEC teams where he's like, yeah, Garrett's had a bad year down there at LSU. And it's like, buddy, Garrett Nussmeier's in the NFL. What are you talking about? Like he's gonna do something like that. I'm telling you, Christian, it's gonna happen. Like he is very clearly not watching.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna bring us back here, Brooks. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, and of course live on X, YouTube, Facebook, on the Tide 100.9 page. All those you guys can check us out if you prefer to watch us live, which we started streaming months ago, and you guys I guess enjoy it. So keep hanging out with us. We always encourage it. And of course, not just us, our guests who joined the show live. And today we got a special one of your favorites. We got Brooks Austin, the film guy, who we just were chatting with here a little bit before we came back on the radio side of things. Brooks had his work cut out for him last night, breaking down the NFL draft, which, I mean, listen, good work, as always. Listen, good work as always. We all know we love watching football, breaking it down, but I know you're tired, so I appreciate you coming here and hanging out with us a little bit more to talk even more football, which I'm sure you're going to be doing even more tonight because the draft does continue. But welcome in, my man.
Yeah, no doubt. I was, for the first time in my career, Christian, I was telling people no. Like it's been springtime and we got spring practices, so everybody's calling and they're like, this is a first world problem, like these are dreams that I had 5 years ago. I'm like, man, nobody wants to hear my opinions. Now everybody's like, hey, can I get you at 3:30 in Tuscaloosa to talk quarterback battle? And I'm like, I got 6 hours worth of film left to watch. Like, no, I'm sorry. Get me Friday. And I think that's what I told you, Christian. I'm like, Friday, good. I'll be breathing. I'll be able to pick my air up or pick my head up from the water and actually catch a breath. But yeah, man. Ironically enough, I was on a show that was like born and raised in Miami, Florida. And then Proctor goes 12 to the Dolphins. And look, if anybody and Bama fans that have listened to me talk about this young man over the years, they know I'm not like the hugest fan of him as a prospect. Sure. I would have been fine. I think my Mendoza line, if you will, for him was like 17 to the Lions. Like if you told me he was going to go to like a place of grit and play guard, I'm cool with it. But if you're telling me you're going to send him to South Beach and we're going to draft him in the tackle like range, like top 15s, you're playing tackle, buddy. Like that's what we drafted you to do. We gave you $40 million not to play left guard, but to play left tackle. So that scares me. And like you guys know it better than anybody, being an Alabama like guy. And Nick Saban never says bad things about a football player that's ever worn crimson, ever. He will not say bad things about that guy. And then for him to be on national television and be like, yeah, man, to be honest with you, when this guy's outside the building, there's no telling what he's going to eat. He's not a self-starter, doesn't really care. But if you just get him to camp, he'll be all right. I'm like, what? You said, bro, he said that the day before the draft about a guy that he spent a lot of money on twice, by the way, to get him out of high school and then to get him back from Iowa. That to me was like, whoa. And even like, and I see the chat and they're doing the right thing and they're talking about, hey, he's going to play guard. That's fine. You still can't play guard at 360 pounds. Like we can't do that. We don't do that on the NFL level. Those guys are 335 and they can move. So like, we'll see. I have a hard time thinking that we couldn't control it in college. So now we're magically going to control it as a pro. Christian, you know this better than anybody that I have these conversations with. If I can't get you to have your body right and eat the right things in college, I probably won't ever get you to do it. I control you more in college as an athlete than you'll ever be controlled in your life as an athlete. Yep, you're 100% right. And matter of fact, before you jumped on here, that's exactly what I said. I'm like, because we talked about Tai Simpson. I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But with Caden Proctor in Miami, I'm like, of course, for him going down to South Beach and being able to play in the National Football League, I'm sure he's fired up. But I had those same concerns and talked about Coach Saban. Look, Coach Saban's going to be honest, right? He's always going to cover his guys, but his honesty is going to creep out a little bit. And that was one of those moments. And he's just being honest about it. I mean, like, and that's the one thing that frustrated me about watching Proctor here was that I know the potential that the guy has. I mean, he could be so good at either tackle or guard if he would just have the discipline to keep his body right. And you mentioned it. When you go to the NFL, it's totally different. It's almost like they're cutting you loose. Because I know here, they're going to have every resource available to you. But in the NFL, they got the resources, but it's not so much of a you being in a bubble type of situation. And Christian, it's not like smart people have been around him for 36 months. They've told him this. Right. They've talked about this with him. Every analyst that's ever watched him play has said this about him since day one. Dude, if we could play at 335, we might be the greatest tackle to ever live. Like we said that about him as a freshman. People that know football said that about him as a freshman. Hey, you're 375 pounds. If you lose 40 pounds, you might be the greatest to ever do this. And then what do we do? We came back at 385. And then we got back down to 355 by the end of our sophomore year. And then what we do? We came back in our last year of college football at 378 in fall camp. And it's like, and it's a known thing. Chat knows it. Like they called this man, like his teammates call him Krispy Kreme. It is a very well-known thing. So, I almost feel bad like harping on it at this point, but we've harped on it for 36 months and nothing has changed.
Yeah, so, no, it's just truth. No, listen, we're honest on this show. I mean, we cover Bam. I'm a former guy, but people know we're going to be honest here. So I'm all for it. But I gotta say this now that he's been drafted, Bam. My brother, I can't remember what day it was, but it was like I think the day of pro day or right after. My brother was like, "Man, you know who I ran into?" He's like, "Not once, but twice." Caden Proctor. I was like, "Twice." I'm like, "Where were you at?" Because my brother's a DJ for the Alabama basketball team. So I'm like, maybe he was like on campus or something. He's like, "Oh no, first time was Chipotle. Second time was like what was it? Like one of the cookie place or like it was a dessert place." And I was like, Chipotle and the dessert place twice in one day. You saw this guy. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. But Brooks, give me your thoughts on Tai Simpson, man. I thought he probably won the draft over anybody in terms of his fit. But with LA, it depending on the perspective you see it. It's either, man, they set themselves up for the future, or hey, you're right there on the cusp of maybe winning your second Super Bowl of the McVay era. Did you really need to make that pick there? What did you make of that Tai Simpson pick?
Yeah, look, I love Tai Simpson, the prospect. I don't love what I've like. I got off our show last night, and I start seeing clips of what is up with the Sean McVay thing. Like, dude, even if you don't, you know what it is. Like, you know what the deal is. So if you don't go in there and have a smile on your face and act like you are extremely happy, the narrative's going to be that you obviously weren't cued in on this. And he obviously wasn't. He obviously wasn't. They talked to Ty and was like, "Hey, what do you think of Sean McVay?" He's like, "I never met the guy." It's like the whole thing about the selection is really weird. Okay. Yeah. I do like I would have liked him anywhere. Like, I think the idea that Tai Simpson's not going to work in the NFL is all about physicals. Like, is he going to physically be able to survive? Is he? And he didn't through 15 games at Alabama, by the way. The play deteriorated because the situation continued to deteriorate. But I'm here to tell you, there are going to be large stretches of our career where, as an NFL quarterback, where the parts around us are not very good. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be large stretches. Like, Pat Mahomes is going through one of these now. Like, especially if we become a success, we're going to get paid so much that the parts around us are not going to be whole. So we better be sturdy enough, physical enough, capable enough to make everything right. And I thought parts of the time this year we failed in that aspect as a college prospect. So it makes me wonder what we're going to do as a pro prospect. But the overall narrative now is all about what McVay did in that press conference, and I think that sucks. I think that sucks for the kid. Because I do think you're right. I think it's a great situation for him in a vacuum, right? Without all the stuff. Right, in a vacuum, he's going to sit behind Matt Stafford for the setting of his career, learn everything we possibly can from that guy, who, by the way, is a very physical quarterback. Matt Stafford is very physically gifted, but he is extremely bright. He sees the game very, very well. So they'll be able to share notes and they'll be able to share things. But there's not a lot of, "Hey, Matt did it, so I can do it." There's not a lot of that. You know what I mean? Like, Matt is I call Matt a 1%er. Like, Matt's in that, like, you should call him Matthew, by the way. His wife lets everybody know you should call him Matthew. Matthew is a very special. He's in that Pat Mahomes, like Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, like once in a 15-year type of physical talent. Ty is not. Ty is a once in a 10-year brain, I think. So I think it's a great situation, but I hate the press conference stuff.
Yeah, and it's tough to when you watch it, it doesn't sound great. But then I don't know how much you heard of some of the stuff coming out after the fact. Them saying, Ty's dad is good friends with the GM, and that there was some conversations going back to like during the season, and then December before Ty made the decision to even declare. They were seeking guidance, and the Rams hosted his parents, and they basically said, "Hey, what is the reason why our son should declare instead of coming back to school where he had a $6.5 million offer on the table?" And allegedly the GM said, "Well, we plan on taking your son with the 13th pick." So, I mean, and this is from like NFL you know, like you said, Yates and all these people. Like, these are reports coming from like actual sources. So definitely an interesting situation. But again, it could be a match made in heaven. We won't know until down the road. But right now,
honest to God, it's weird because they have Matt. Like Matt didn't he just win an MVP or was close
he's
to
the reigning
one?
MVP. No, last year he won it.
Yeah, like we're not playing bad ball.
No.
We've actually played healthy the last 2 years. If my memories, I don't watch a lot of NFL football, but injury concerns were a thing there. Isn't he like 38 years old? He's not like 42. They have Stetson Bennett, who, if you've watched spring like practice or preseason ball, is like capable. They also have Jimmy Garoppolo, who is very capable. You know what I mean? They have capable backup situations for the 2-year window that they need to be. It's weird. It's weird. I would have liked him. I don't know, late, like back into the first round for Arizona. I was thinking that was going to like Pittsburgh, a situation where we don't have an immediate, 24-month future at the quarterback position. Let's draft this kid. That's what I thought was going to happen. But yeah, this is interesting.
Definitely an interesting one. I mean, there's going to be more interesting things because that's the NFL draft for you. But Brooks, I want to ask you a little bit about Alabama, because we all know everybody's kind of got their eyes on these programs, like you mentioned, post-spring, spring games. People are pulling you left and right, trying to get these outlooks. So I want to dive into that a little bit with you, because I know you did a breakdown on the Crimson Tide following their spring game. We had a nice 6-minute and some change highlight tape put together by the university that they shared, and a lot of people got their hands on it, and we both broke it down. So I want to get your thoughts a little bit on this football team coming out of spring. I'm just letting the tape roll while we talk, but quarterback battle, we all know how big of a deal that was. Offensive line, though, I think probably the biggest question mark for this team in 2026. What did you kind of come out with Alabama out of the spring?
First and foremost, this play we're watching right here, an Alabama quarterback didn't have that much time all year, maybe in 7 snaps combined. Ryan Williams caught that ball away from his body. So like those two things last year were critical issues for your football team, right? You couldn't protect the quarterback. Ryan Williams had drop problems. Your whole offense had drop problems, right? Like I didn't see any. Was there a drop in that 6.5 minutes? I wasn't there. Was there any concerns there? I don't think so. They formed up some of the issues that, like, critical issues we had last year. Some of the things that still reside, but I don't really make massive judgments on, or like run game. I don't take massive judgments from run game in spring ball, Christian, because I know what we're out there to do. We're out there to throw the football and keep everybody healthy if we can. So that leads to not trying to run the ball. And if we do, we're trying to run off tackle. We're trying to get tackles out in space. We're not trying to bang and clang in the box. That is not for spring ball. That is for fall camp, maybe. Like, get it calloused, get the body calloused, ready to go for week 1. But we want to be healthy during the spring. It's about throwing the ball and protecting the quarterback. And I thought they did a good job of doing that, except for that clip right there where Elijah Griffin got home. That's another thing I liked. I like seeing that they're letting guys do what they should be doing early, and that they can do early in their career, and then waiting for them to develop into their maybe long-term future roles down the road. But we need them to play now. We need Xavier Griffin to rush the quarterback right now. He might grow into an off-ball linebacker, but we're paying him a lot of money, and he is a freshman, and we need him to play, and he can rush right now. So let's let him rush, and then with the 3s and 4s, let's let him play off-ball linebacker. Hey, Cedarian Morgan might be an X, like, when he's drafted in 2 years, but we need that big SOB on the field right now. So let's let him play in the slot, all right? Because he might not be able to separate against the likes of SEC corners like Dejon Lee today, but by God, he can get loose on nickels and safeties today. So let's do that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this. I love this because I have said over and over again, the worst thing we can have on our roster, Christian, is a 5-star that's not playing. He costs way too much money, and he is doing nothing. He is costing what an SEC premier starter costs, and he's on the bench. We can't have that. We can't have that at all. So I think this is great. I think this is modern times where, hey, used to we'd let the kid develop. We'd play him late in the season. Nah, boo hockey. That dude's got to play week 1, day 1. Let's go. Let's figure out how we can get that done.
We're joined by Brooks Austin, the film guy. Make sure you guys check out all the great work that he's putting out there on X, of course. Brooks Austin, is it BA or BA? That's right.
Yeah, Brooks Austin BA on socials, the Film Guy Network on YouTube.
There you go. You guys always are mentioning his breakdowns, but if you haven't checked them out, please do so, because they're really, really good stuff. Brooks, I got to ask you about the quarterback battle real quick, man. That's been a big topic this spring. Now, Keelan Russell, he kind of stole the day during A-Day, but we had Coach DeBoer on my show, I think 2 weeks ago now. And when we talked about Keelan Russell and how, spectacular he looked on A-Day, Coach DeBoer made sure to point out, hey, Austin Mack has been doing some really good things this spring. And this guy, if we put a highlight tape together, would really wow the fans if they were able to see that. Where are you kind of at with this quarterback battle? I know it's really early. It's still in the spring, and 8 days, one practice out of 15. But if you're in that position, man, you got that decision to make. You're Coach DeBoer. If it's close like this, man, where are you leaning? You leaning towards a young phenom or a guy like Austin Mack?
Well, I think it's a no wrong decision type of situation out there. And if there's anything I trust Kalen DeBoer with, and if any reason why I would give him a 7-year extension worth $12.5 million annually, it's because I probably would trust his quarterback evaluation up there with anybody. Like his ability to scout and pick the right guy from high school to college, and then develop that kid, teach him the game, teach him how to play and win from within the pocket, which to me is the most important thing that we do. Like, it's fun to be able to run around. It's fun to be able to be explosive and all that good stuff. But if we can't stack plays and be consistently efficient down to down from within the pocket, we will not survive. Like, we just won't. So I think that his ability to find those guys, like the whole room will be filled with those. So I've been on a lot of Alabama shows this spring, and I say the same thing about this. I have no doubt the quarterback position is going to be great. So can we run the ball? Can we protect the quarterback? Can we be good enough at tight end? Are we good enough on the interior of the defensive line? Those are questions I have. Now, you asked me about like which guy do I favor. I'm always going to favor fun, like the fan base is. I want fun and explosive. I want twitchy at the quarterback position. I want that too. You see it come out of his hands a couple of times, and you want Keelan Russell to play. Like that is, I feel that, right? But the other guy is 6'6", 230 pounds and makes all the throws too. So, and he's a good athlete. Like there's a play in the Rose Bowl where he takes off and like we can move. We're not just this big lurch pocket passer. I also think you have to realize they have a lot of investment into Austin Mack. Maybe not financially, but from a evaluation, and we believe in this kid's standpoint. They had him reclass out of high school to get to Washington early, and then they brought him from Washington over here to Alabama. Like this is one of their guys. So I would imagine they want it to work, and they want to see it out to its failure point before giving up on it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes as coaches, we have that tendency, especially as evaluators.
Absolutely.
But you guys, if y'all can't run the ball, you have to play Keelan because he can, right? We talk a lot on our network about balancing counts in the run game. And when we have a quarterback threat, we even counts. So if there's 6 in the box and we've got 6, you're in trouble.
+1 run,
because, we're a +1 run team now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. I know we only got a couple more minutes with you, but I wanted to ask you about with those quarterbacks. I mean, how do you see this offense evolving maybe, right? I think I heard you talk about this maybe on the next round, but just you mentioned Keelan's athletic ability. With Tai Simpson, we know how cerebral he is, and I think both these guys definitely are – they want to stand in the pocket and deliver strikes, but with their added athleticism, you talk about RPO game or even just quarterback design run, like you mentioned, those +1 runs, you know, you're getting the numbers game that you want, and that back becomes an extra blocker in the running game. Would you be in favor of them doing that with Keelan Russell, even though there could be maybe some durability concerns given he's only 201 pounds?
There's durability concerns, not just because of the size, but his willingness to get himself hit. Like if you watch the limited snaps we had from a year ago, he gets hit hard 3 or 4 times. And it's like, hey, you could have gotten out of bounds, and for some reason you spun. We're playing college football now. You're going to catch one off the chin. You're going to get a chin check real quick if you're not careful. Hey, we just hurdled a guy. Don't be hurdling out here. Like your ass needs to slide. You're a quarterback. We pay you a lot of money. Like there ain't none of that. Like I know we were a 4x1 high school track guy, and we didn't even run that much in high school. Like we were a dynamic passer. I know we have run stats, but we beat people from the pocket. That's what I love about this kid. We have a tendency to compete though, and we know. And I'm talking about Keelan. He knows sometimes he is the most athletic and dynamic football player with the ball in his hands on the field, bar none. And I know that about him. We all can see that about him. That being said, we got to play 16 games if you're going to be the guy. So we need to protect ourselves. But you are right in the sense that I don't even think it has to be like we become some RPO design quarterback run team. all I care about nowadays, the more and more I watch it, is does the quarterback keep the backside edge defender honest? Or can that guy sprint like a banshee to the ball carrier? Because if he can, we're cooked. We're not going to be able to run the ball. But if he just keeps that backside defender thinking, hey, if I allow this quarterback to keep the football, if I am not at least flat-footed and play this in a catch tech or like patient, then we're going to give up a 25-yard explosive. Then that's troublesome. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yep.
That's what needs to be added to every college offense because of what's going on with the hashes and what's going on with the RPO game and the ability to block downfield and keep backside edge defenders honest. Otherwise, they're sprinting to the ball carrier.
Brooks Austin, the film guy, joined us. Last question for you before we let you run. It's a pretty big one, man. So I hope you're ready for it. And be honest now. We're honest on this show, man. Alabama in 2026. You just talked about Coach DeBoer's extension. The last 2 years, I would argue, I mean, listen, you definitely see the progress there. To Alabama standards, there's going to be a little bit of criticism. We already know that. But last season, you make a trip to the college football playoffs. You get yourself a win on the road. You go to the SEC championship. We know how that game went. But, you just still did some really good things in your building. However, we know Alabama fans, they're going to be eager to see even more steps. However, in my opinion, I personally just feel like 2026, man, we still got a number of question marks. We got a number of youth. I almost feel like this team is almost better put together for a run in 2027 when some of the young talent that they brought in out of high school can really flourish and develop and be those guys at that point in time. But for 2026, Brooks, my question for you is Alabama a contender or a pretender?
This schedule and that defense says they're a contender. Guys, we're not going to get many schedules like this in this conference moving forward. You guys got the 2024 or 2025 Oklahoma schedule. This is ECU at Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina, Mississippi State. You should be undefeated October 10th going, hosting Georgia there in Tuscaloosa. I think Tennessee is going to be a 7-5, 8-4 football team this year. A&M is going to be tough. I think as long as Elko's out there, the way that I watched that spring practice, them boys going to be hard to beat no matter what you think of their quarterback or what you think of whatever as a fan. You're going to have to line up and play ball. That is a physical football program. At LSU, that's going to be tough. You're going to have to score some damn points, all right, because they're going to put it up this year. Vandy's going to be back to Vandy this year, in my opinion. UTC, and then there's Auburn. Like, guys, this is a 9-3-able schedule at least, and that's giving you losses to Georgia, LSU, and A&M. I think you should handle everybody else.
Yeah, I was about to say it depends on who you ask, man. Schedule's a little interesting. On one hand, people feel like it's a very rough schedule. On other, depending on how some of those teams, like you mentioned, end up being, I think it's definitely manageable. But I think a lot of people would agree. Definitely looks like a contender. Now, I don't know if I see a national championship caliber team just yet. Given the offensive line, I think everything rides on that. But if they figure that part out, without a doubt, I think they are in position to be a contender in 2026. Brooks, man, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you've been busy doing a number of things. I know you're tired, trying to catch back up. But before we let you go, man, tell everybody how they can keep up with all the great work that you're doing.
Yeah, we are on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Head over to the Film Guy Network whenever you get a chance and hit us with a subscription. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you, Brooks. We'll have to do it again soon. We appreciate you, brother. Brooks Austin, the film guy, everybody. Good stuff, man. We got to hit this timeout when we come back. We keep on rolling. We let you guys respond to it, and we keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Listen for hourly local news updates from the
Good stuff, man. Appreciate Brooks jumping on here, guys. Good stuff. Masked up. Wait, was that mask up? Says undefeated. Whoa. Undefeated. Whoa. Agent says pretender. Well, yeah, let me ask you guys that question. Contender or pretender for Alabama? Contender or pretender? Kentucky scares you a little bit. They brought in a new quarterback, right? Who else do they bring in? Because, excuse me, I know a number of people have been talking about Kentucky. Who all did they bring in? All right, cool. We got Stephen Smitty. We're going to have to come. Reed, what we'll do is we'll come back for like 3 minutes and then hit a break to catch back up, right? Does that sound good? Way off sides. Jeff says contender. All right, perfect. QD says contender. And how's the other thing? Arthur says contender. What is our when we say contender, I think we got to be specific too, because when I say contender, I definitely think Alabama should be a playoff contender, right? Like we all can agree on that. But if you're saying like top 5 team when it's all said and done, this is my opinion, guys. I don't quite see that, only given just the offensive line being that question mark that it is. Until I see proof that that's going to be much better, it's just hard for me to put us in that category, man. It is. I mean, even because I'll be honest, the defense I think will be good. But when you look at the caliber of players that Ohio State just put in the draft last night, which I get it, not many people really did that at all. But it is clear. Listen, we had this conversation the other day, Alabama versus Ohio State as a program. We just got to keep it real, guys. Ohio State has been the premier program compared to Alabama over the last probably if you stack up the last 5 years, I would probably say it's a pretty clear win for Ohio State. I just think when you see this talent that they're continuously putting out, they won a national championship 2 years ago or whenever it was. I don't see that quite with us right now, or haven't. You know, I mean, we've had some good picks. I mean, we've had a run on, quarterback talent, which is kind of like a flip of what we've been used to. Well, the reason I threw out 5 years is because 5 years ago, Alabama was playing in the national championship game, right? Remember, we won it in 2020. 2021, we played in it again, but we lost to Georgia. So I said 5 years because that would include at least that. But then after that, remember, 2022 was not a bad year, but 2022 was when that was Bryce Young's final. We lost 2 regular season games, right? We lost 2 regular season games, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember what the bowl game was. Was that when we went and beat Kansas State or something? Or Kansas State? Was that year? I mean, we had good players. I remember you had Bryce Young, you had Will Anderson, but that was a 2-loss regular season for that football team that consisted of, and I don't know about top to bottom. I'd have to really go back and look at 2022. But when you had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, you had Will Anderson, who just became the highest paid non-quarterback. I don't know what the stat was, but the dude just broke the bank, and we know how special he was. I mean, we underachieved that year. That's just a fact. I mean, Kool-Aid, McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, both top picks. I mean, Terrion first-round pick, Kool-Aid, I think, second. Dallas Turner. I mean, 2022 had a lot of talent. We underachieved that year without a doubt. And welcome back into this Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Another big thanks to Brooks Austin, the film guy who just joined us here on the show. You guys can always go back and listen to the show later, but I'm gonna clip that part out and post it separately for anybody that did miss it or wants to go back and watch it again. You can check that out on our YouTube channel at The Miller's Edge. We're going to get to these phone calls to see. We got a couple of folks lined up. Just give me about 3 to 5 minutes because we got to hit a quick break here in about a minute or two. And then when we come back, I see we got Smitty and Steve both on the phone lines. We're going to come to you guys. But I was talking over the break just kind of about, the draft last night. And I don't know how we even really got on it. But, man, you just see the talent that Ohio State just put in the league last night. Reed was kind of crazy. I mean, 2 backers, a safety. I mean, I think that defensive tackle ended up, he didn't get picked. He's staying he's staying up there at the draft. But still, I mean, these guys literally are just pumping out talent. Hopefully Alabama can get back to that, because that was Alabama for a while. You know what I mean? And granted, a quarterback and an offensive lineman taken this year. Last year ended up being, was it Booker and who else went in the first round? Was it just Booker? I don't even remember. I'm drawing a. I don't even remember.
Me too, man.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Listen, we talk
all
about
these years they just stack,
Regardless, you get the point. But anyway, it made me think of the conversation we had. I think last week when we were talking with Hunter and we were comparing Alabama versus Georgia. Jahad Campbell. Thank you, Gray. And then we compared Ohio State and Alabama. And after seeing, their draft class, which we already knew it was going to be the case, right? We already knew them as prospects. It's like, dang, man, like we're a step behind, and we're just being honest. I mean, that's just a fact. But the good news is, man, I think the core pieces that this staff has been able to acquire and retain, I could see Alabama at some point in the near future, hopefully, right? As long as we develop these guys right, I think you could see Alabama ending up with some really good talent and some good guys going on to the National Football League like we've seen before. I will say this, though, and we'll talk about this when we come back. We'll hit a quick timeout. Looking ahead to next year, granted, listen, there's so many guys that we probably should talk about at some point because you got day 2 of the draft coming up. You got guys like Jeremy Bernard, who I think is going to be an extreme value. I say extreme value. I didn't view him as a first-round pick. It is all the qualities he has. I mean, I would love to take him in the first round, but I just know how this thing works. But I think whoever drafts him tonight, because there's no way he's still on the board after tonight, I think they're getting themselves a great pick. Maybe he lands in Los Angeles with Tai. They need a receiver, in my opinion. I think he fits kind of what they do in terms of guys that are just like workhorses, man. Receivers that can do a lot, run a lot of routes, and are just consistent. But we'll have to see. That being said, I want to talk about maybe who we think out of these young players that we have on this team could end up being the next guys that end up attending the draft and hearing their names called. Maybe a guy like Keelan Russell, maybe a guy like Xavier Brown next year. Right? Yanze Pierre, maybe we'll have to see. We'll talk about this and more when we come back right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Do you have cracks or pop? Couldn't stop a nosebleed. Who was that, Jeff? Who couldn't stop a nosebleed? You talking about us or what? Know where true development is at right now. It's not at Alabama. It's at Ohio State, unfortunately. I mean, listen, I think we have some guys that are definitely good players that have been developed. I mean, there's no denying that. But if you're stacking the two together, right now, if we're going off the last few years, I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, you just can't. I mean, Ohio State continues their run on first-round wide receivers. So, I mean, it's hard to say, like, if you're a wide receiver coming out of high school, it would be I wouldn't even be mad at you if you said, hey, man, I feel best about going to Ohio State. Granted, their receivers coach that was responsible a lot for a number of these players we've been talking about, he did move on, took a job elsewhere. But I don't see it necessarily slowing down because you got Jeremiah Smith, you got Chris Henry Jr., I think. Is it Chris Henry? But yeah. Without Hartline on end, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's to be determined. Now, the next two guys I just named, they're based off of their own talent and potential. They're going to be first rounders. So, I mean, but if you're saying in terms of development, we'll have to see. But even, I mean, if you look at the linebackers, let me pull this up. I think I looked at this a while ago when we were talking about Arvell Reese and what's his name? Sonny Styles, a matter of fact. Sonny Styles was a safety, I think, initially. Really tall safety. When he first got there, Arvell Reese coming out of high school was number 206th nationally, number 18th ranked linebacker. Now, this is according to 24/7 Sports. I just clicked this link, but to me, I mean, that's a clear sign of some nice development. Good evaluation for sure. I mean, they saw a guy that's 6'4", 200 and whatever he was coming out of high school. And he was developed. Sonny Styles, let's pull him up. So, again, that's a guy that wasn't in the top 200 as a high school recruit. So it's not like he was a 5-star. Let me see. Let's do on 3. Let me specifically look up on 3 since that's kind of like the standard. It feels like as a recruit, Sonny Styles was a 5-star. It looks like he actually was a top 5 player in the country. So that one's a little bit different. But Arvell Reese, I'll give them a lot of credit on that one. Sonny Styles, I mean, I'll still give him some credit, but I mean, if he was rated that highly, I mean, but to be fair, you do have to give credit to the development portion because he was an athlete coming out of high school. He was 6'4", 205. And I don't think I saw somewhere that he played safety initially. So I'll give credit where it's due. Caleb Downs, I mean, he came from Alabama. They're talking about him, I guess potentially could have been a first rounder literally as a freshman. So I don't give them as many points on the development piece, but they clearly still did a good job. And there's a number of other players that they put out. But yeah, I would give the nod to Ohio State right now. And welcome back into this Free for All Friday to the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hey, before we go to the phone lines real quick, let me remind you about our friends over at Lamparello Law Education Advocacy. We had Adam here on the show yesterday, and we got to see that pretty new fancy website that they finally got put together. So make sure you guys check it out, man. You hear me talk about them all the time, man. Go get that information. Lamparello-law.com. They've got everything that you need right there, all the contact information. They've got prices. We talk about how affordable the representation and the services are because they don't just represent you in a legal manner, which is really important with the lawyer, but they set you up, whether you're a high school graduate or college student. That could be mentoring, test-taking preparation, subject matter mastery, and so much more. So make sure you guys go take advantage of it. Check them out. They would love to take care of you just like they take care of us, man. I'm telling you, they are relentless. They're passionate, and they will get you guys squared away at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, the official representation here on the Miller's Edge. All right, let's go to the phone line, 205-342-9904. We got who was up first? It wasn't Smitty. It was sorry, I just had it. We got Steve up first. Steve, welcome in.
Hey, Christian, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Man, I couldn't be better if I were twins. It's hard. It's hard to improve on me right now. To be real honest with you.
Really? What's got you feeling so good today?
Yeah.
You're just blessed to be alive?
Well, a combination of that and then just, several other things. But I didn't want to talk about all that. Christian, I wanted to run something by you. I wanted to get your professional opinion, if not your personal opinion.
Sure.
Both, actually.
Sure.
Okay, a lot has been made of this. First of all, a lot has been made about the. It was a press conference with McVay, and his lack of I guess endorsement of the signing of Tai.
Yep.
And I heard it, and it was not. It was not glowing by any stretch. He did do a little two-step around the whole thing, and but he was not. He didn't. If he had, it seemed to me if he had, second thoughts about it or even any negative thoughts about it, he pretty well danced around it, and he talked good about Tai for a while. But I'm telling you, Christian, and this is where I'll need your opinion. With that thought going into all this, does that not create some sort of does Tai have to work that much harder? I don't know a lot about the NFL. I don't, but it seems to me like McVay's already put him behind the 8 ball. I don't. Stetson Bennett's there, and he's proven he's won a couple of national championships. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that he's better than Tai Simpson. Not even close to that. But he does have a pretty good resume. So I'm just curious as to what you think about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And we got this pulled up on the stream, the clip of McVay and their general manager sitting there at the podium. But yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about it. I saw the clips myself. I can understand why it looked like maybe judging off of his body language, maybe even just the, first and foremost, him doubling down that this is Matthew Stafford's team. Listen, I'll say this. It can be a number of things. Sometimes those guys are tired, man. I mean, you got to think they're all day doing a number of things. They're talking to people. It could be something like that. It could be very much what people are speculating that, maybe he just wasn't all in on the pick, or not necessarily all in, because I know that he probably likes Tai a lot as a prospect. He's talked about all those great qualities. But, when you talk about a team picking somebody, there's so many dynamics to it, right? Because at the end of the day, the general manager, he's pretty much the guy that's going to have like the final say, unless you're, my former team and your owner is David.
I don't.
Sometimes
I didn't. I don't know who has the final. I've never in all the years that who has the final say. I guess I'm a little fuzzy about that.
No, and that's a great question. It really depends on the organization, how it's run. Like I mentioned, the Carolina Panthers. You know, my former team, David Tepper, was the new owner, and I'm just being honest with you. I mean, whatever he ultimately said was going to go, but for the most part, you see a lot of the time that the GM is going to have a lot of that when it comes to the final say. The head coach is going to have a lot of influence, of course, but this is what I would say. I mean, from the reports that are coming out, it seemed like the general manager was head over heels for Tai Simpson. From him to them mentioning that there was a relationship between Ty's dad and the general manager himself. Ty's dad going to him, asking him for his advice on what Ty should do, whether that's return to school or declare. And then I also see it from maybe the angle that, hey, Sean McVay here has a quarterback in Matthew Stafford who he's really close with, a guy who was a reigning MVP. It doesn't matter what the team is or who the player is. If you've got a quarterback that's a reigning MVP and you go draft a quarterback in the first round, that's going to rub them some type of way. I don't care how selfish the person is. These guys are competitors. And to them, even if you're talking about 2-3 years down the road, that quarterback might say, hey, well, still, I'm playing my best ball right now. So, why are we right now looking for the future when you know what I mean? Like, he's probably thinking, well, damn, we are just this close from winning the Super Bowl. I would love to get me a new wide receiver like Malik Lemon, or maybe we could get this guy. So you just don't know exactly unless these guys just flat out fully said it, which they're not going to give a whole, 100% answer. But I'll say this to answer your question. I know it's a word salad. Does that put Ty behind the 8 ball? I don't think so at all, because it's clear that this organization had a lot of conviction in him. The fact that they decided to make that pick at number 13, knowing that they didn't need to make that pick. It's not going to make their team probably any better this upcoming season. Now, unless there's an injury and Ty ends up forced to play, that shows how much they believe in Tai Simpson for the future. So that the fact is, he should know he's in a really good spot, because I'm telling you right now, especially the quarterback position, the organization you have around you is probably it's so much almost more important than sometimes your talent level at the time, at least as a prospect. So that being said, he's got a head coach in McVay who's super smart, who's a quarterback type of coach. He's got an organization that's got a really good roster. He's learning from, Matthew Stafford, who's a future Hall of Famer. Just even if the time being, maybe the head coach might have thought, we probably should have done this. Listen, he's in a really good spot. Once they're clicking and working together, it's going to probably work out really good down the road. It's just a future investment. So right now there's going to be a lot of pushback, but I think down the road it's going to probably pay off for both parties.
One more quick observation from you, then I want to get off so Smitty can get on, because I enjoy his calls. Okay, there's two schools of thought out there for Ty. All right, send him to L.A., where he can sit and learn from one of the best, as you said, a Hall of Famer, one of the best that's ever done it in Matt Stafford, and he is. There's no getting around that. Or Ty is mature enough and physically mature enough, mentally mature enough, been around it all his life. Do you send him into, for example, the Cardinals, where he would probably start and get his brains kicked in for 2 years, and then what good would he be? So what side are you on about this? Or do you want him to sit back and learn, or do you think he just needs to go ahead and let it rip? Go somewhere where he can play, because he's ready. Is he ready to start the first game of the 2026 season?
I would say it's a clear answer from my perspective, Steve. I would say no. I think what he's doing, or what he will do in terms of sitting for a couple years, is exactly what he needed. Personally, I didn't think he was ready to play day one in the NFL, only because, not just because of the starts. I just know normally when a team needs you to play day one, that means the team's not very good. The pieces around you aren't very good. Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When he goes to these teams that he's going to start immediately, they're not going to be good.
No, and I just know, again, just from watching him here, I remember, and especially talking with people in the building, I mean, they would talk about, man, he's a great quarterback, super smart. He can make these throws. But one of the biggest issues for him as a young player was when he would get in trouble or he'd make a mistake, he was really hard on himself. He's just that type of competitor. And it could sometimes, when I say spiral, it just means maybe one mistake leads to another, and then you're trying to get yourself out of a rut. That could very well kind of come back up with a young quarterback if he steps foot on an NFL football field and he is not ready to play. Right. So for
that's
him,
a great point. Because that works against him. That's a great point.
Absolutely. And so right now, he's going to be able to develop, physically, be working out, learning from the best. He's going to play in some preseason games, get a lot of good practice reps. And then maybe if an injury comes up, he plays a little bit. But it reminds me like the Jordan Love situation, right, with Green Bay. I think he's going to be set up for the long term for his future, and it's going to really benefit his career. Because I played with a guy by the name of Sam Darnold, too. He got thrown in the fire early. He was a damn good quarterback coming out of college. Wasn't a great idea for him to be playing so young. He was like 20 at the time and didn't, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't ready. But now look at him. He's had time to develop, and Sam Darnold just won himself a Super Bowl, and it looks like the quarterback everybody thought he could be because he had time to develop, mature, and he's in a much better situation. And I think that has the chance to be Tai Simpson.
Okay. Christian, I appreciate your time, brother. I listen to your show every day. I don't call, but I had to this time. I absolutely had to this time.
Well,
but I love the show, and I appreciate the time you've given me.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you so much for the words and for calling.
Thanks
we appreciate you, Steve. Yes, sir. Good deal. We're going to hit a timeout real quick. When we come back, we'll let Smitty wrap things up here on the Miller's Edge on this Free for All Friday edition right here, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Do you have what's going on, Lisa? She says DeBoer will win consistently at Alabama in a natty following the 27 season. This is Alabama. He's assembling the roster. Help them stay positive by being realistic, yet plus roll Tide roll. I can't say all right, perfect. We'll hit Smitty quick. I can't say I can guarantee that he'll win a national championship because I don't think you could guarantee that with anybody. I don't care who you hire. But I think what he's building in terms of the core of really good high school talent that has proven to really contribute, and even so early on, whether it's Latsier Brooks, whether it's Michael Carroll, London Simmons, Dejon Lee, right? I mean, you're seeing all these young players that they're recruiting out of high school come and actually pay off and be good evaluated players, be players that end up producing at a really high rate. One could maybe even argue that their success rate with their evaluations and recruitment right now is outdoing what we saw out of Coach Saban's last couple of years. Keyword, last couple of years. Now, a few years before that, I'm not going to sit there and say that, but the last couple of years, one could argue the young players that we brought in and evaluated and we've seen them play are definitely making a big impact and are proving to be good football players. Now, we won't really have a true definitive on some of that until maybe a couple of years down the road when these guys have kind of run their course and we're seeing the guys specifically that Coach DeBoer recruited, evaluated, developed, all that good stuff, and then go on, that'll be a little bit more of a measure. That said, I'm with you. I think that was probably part of the reason they really wanted to secure Coach DeBoer here. Are there still question marks and concerns with, several things? Absolutely. And that would be any coach or any program. My biggest thing is, it's not the evaluation development piece. I just gave them a lot of praise on that. My biggest question mark really with this staff is there was a number of times that I believe we got out-coached. I'm just being honest with you. And there's been a couple of things that I feel like we didn't quite really do to the standard that I would necessarily expect to see, right? And it's me being completely transparent, like the Indiana game. Ty basically saying that we knew what they were going to do. We felt like, this is what they're going to do and we were going to do this, but they just executed. That really signals one of two things, maybe a little bit both. That's either saying Indiana was just that much better than us physically or from a talent perspective, which I do not believe, or, and this also is, like I said, two things could be true, which I don't believe it is. We just had no answer for it schematically or from like the coach's standpoint. We thought we knew what they were going to do. We're coming out, they're executing. There was no adjustment or anything done to try to stop the lack of success or stop them from having so much success. So when I look at like the Indiana game, or I look at the Georgia game, games that matter, big games, I'll be honest with you. There's no question about it. We got out-coached in both of those football games. If you don't believe me and you think I'm just being critical, ask any other football person that watches tape, whether it's a coach, pundit, or whatever. Just ask anybody who really knows the game of football, and they'll tell you we got out-coached. So I do want to see progress from that perspective. I genuinely do. Outside of that, there's a lot of good stuff that I have seen from this staff that I think we can continue to build on, and hopefully that's what happens. But I am optimistic about the future. But those things will need to be better, and also outside of preparation, I would love to see the intensity be consistent, right? I feel like that's just been like this. Some games we come out and the sidelines flat, or guys just don't look to be playing physical or playing with the right attitude. That I want to see improve. But we saw a little bit of that out of Coach Saban's last couple of years too. So I mean, it's not just one person. And welcome back in real quick to this Free For All Friday edition. We got a few minutes, but we got to get our guy Smitty on here. Smitty's famous now. I've had neighbors talk about how much they enjoy listening to Smitty. We just heard Steve on the phone lines talk about him enjoying Smitty. Smitty, you might just earn yourself a new gig, brother. Talk to me.
Hey, people hope everything's all well with you, good brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Likewise, man.
Hey, yes. If anyone, I'm just a guy with an opinion. If people like my calls, I greatly appreciate it, But I greatly appreciate it. I'm just a guy with an opinion. And, but here's the thing about the draft last night. Ty went to the right spot because most quarterbacks aren't ready to play. The Dolphins continue to show why they're a dumpster fire. The man said on national TV he loves Krispy Kreme donuts. I got his nickname. And you still drafted this guy like number 12. I hope the guy does well, but he's kind of like a woman meeting a man. He said, "I'm going to cheat on you, baby." They get mad when he cheats on you. Come on, people. But I got a hot take. I got a hot take for you. If Alabama, the past 2 years, had another left tackle who was experienced and ready to go, he might have been moved to guard. But they didn't have anybody ready. And plus, you couldn't throw Jackson Lloyd out there last year. Let's just be real on this. Because, Coach Saban would have done it himself, after a while. But y'all talk about those contract extensions yesterday. Let me tell people this. Sorry, Adam. Kirby Smart's not leaving his job. Nobody who's a big-time coach at a big-time spot making 8 figures a year is not leaving to come to Alabama where even how they get coffee in the mornings compared to Nick Saban, and nothing's ever good enough. They ain't doing it. If K and the boys, something happens, you're going to have to get a G6 coach. Good luck with that. And that's a crapshoot in itself. But I wasn't mad at the extension because that's business. And I know some fans out there think this guy is the worst coach in the league, think he's a buffoon. But Michigan and Penn State thought this guy was pretty good. And in a year or two, the real USC, hope you heard that, Pastor Miller, they come open in a year or two. And their AD's the one who hired K and the boy at Washington. And they also tried to hire Courtney Morgan 2 years ago. And but so that's the thing. You have to have stability is big because number one rated quarterback Elijah Haven, his parents talked about the stability of Alabama.
Right.
And stability goes a long way because you start canning people in 2 or 3 years because you're mad about something. Good luck getting somebody because then you got to rebuild your roster as well because those players are going to leave. So I think that now people may get mad about blowouts. I understand, but let's ask Dan Lanning and some of these other coaches who get blown out. They always ask Alabama players and coaches. Ask some of these other people, right? But at the same time, guys, every coach knows he can tell early on in the first game or two, yeah, this position is going to be a problem for us this year. He knew. He made changes. Now, will the changes work? I don't know, but at least he made the changes because Lincoln Riley got in trouble because he held on to his terrible DC, Alex Grinch, for far too long. And, so at least the board made the changes, and I thought that was a good move because the university showing they behind him. The administration actually likes him, right? But I just want fans to understand. We're not going to get back to peak Nick Saban era because we're in the 12-team playoff now. We're playing 9 ACC games. we playing home and homes with the top teams out there, and we're not able to stack rosters anymore. Where if a guy got hurt, you could step in because you've been in for 2 years, 2 or 3 years waiting your turn.
Right.
I just think that like fans got to understand that 10-2 is the new normal most of the time now, and their staff still recruiting pretty well, top
That's
5.
fair.
So
That's
they,
fair.
and let's be real here. The script A is one thing, and I'll say this because I know you're about to go. I think people got to understand this is a different era, and I think that we'll be fine because he's the right guy. Because if people want this, who are you going to get? And I think that we'll be fine there, Christian. But hey, you have a good one, good brother. And tell your dad to stop, let you on the yacht, man.
You take care, Smitty. We'll end on that. That's a great note to end on right there. We appreciate all you guys in this Free For All Friday and look forward to doing it on Monday right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
Really appreciate it, man. Tell Wyatt I apologize. I was trying to let Smitty hurry up and get that point out, man. I'm gonna stay on here for a couple minutes. Oh, wait, is there baseball or something? Maybe we running baseball or yeah. Okay, baseball doubleheader. Makes sense. Well, I'll answer a couple of these questions real quick while we're hanging out here. See you, Reed. Jeff from Way Offside says, what about the game we won? Great question. Great question. No, listen, going on and I'll be honest, I've acknowledged that going on the road and beating Georgia, like I make sure, like I point that one out. Like that is a great accomplishment. That's a big feat, right? Going to Athens, a place where they hadn't lost in years, right? They had a big streak at home, and again, the top. What'd they finish? I don't remember what they finished, but top football team, right? Playoff caliber football team. I can't remember what they ultimately finished in the whole thing, but regardless. Yes, you went on the road and beat them, and you're talking about the out-coaching thing. But here's my thing, though. While all that was good, that Week 4 Georgia team wasn't the same Georgia team at the end of the year, right? They were still figuring out a lot. Their offensive line, they still were figuring out. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just being honest. Their defense, they hadn't figured out their pass rush at that moment in time. They could not get off the field at third down. But, again, I will give credit to our offense. And our game plan, I thought we did a good job. Didn't really run the ball consistent. Utilized screen game to kind of help with extensions to the running game. But then when it came time for 4-minute offense, we did find a way to execute and get physical and go down there and win. That team that showed up, it looked like we had that fire, that passion. Remember, like I remember Ty and those guys fired up, right? Like silence in the crowd or doing a little, emote to shush the crowd, all that good stuff. My problem is, that was that game. That was Week 4. When it came time to do it again on the big stage, when that Georgia team got better, we got worse. Now, I understand we were banged up and we were injured. They also had a number of guys out. Their starting center was out. So I do take that into consideration. But if you watch the game plan from that week, which I did, I broke down that game. Then I also watched probably 3, 4, 5, 6, how many times the SEC championship game, broke down that game. The game plan from Georgia was a much different game plan. They adjusted, they adapted, they were ready for that second matchup. I understand it's hard to beat a team twice, but they were ready for that game and much more prepared than we were. Like that's just a fact. Go look at how they executed on third down and on defense in the SEC championship game versus that Week 4 game. Hats off to our staff for the Week 4 win, but here's the kicker though. What matters is what you do at the end of the season, not at the beginning. Like breaking the streak at Georgia at home is great, but ultimately the goal is to win championships. The goal is to go and win an SEC championship and a national championship. So when it comes time to face that team again, we saw them make a lot of adjustments and do a lot in between that time span. And unfortunately, we didn't make a whole bunch of changes. And while they were trending this away, we were trending that away. So I think that's just, important to consider. Then ultimately, you watch even, the Indiana game. I mean, like, if you believe we did not get out coached in that game, then you're basically saying you believe that Indiana was just that much better of a football team from a talent perspective. That's pretty much what that means. Because if your quarterback is indicating that you already had them figured out, at least you thought you did, and then it went that way, that's basically implying that we were no match to them physically. We were inferior to those guys physically and from a talent perspective, which I find that hard to believe, honestly. Not to mention, like, going into the game, I was talking about Indiana's scheme. Like, they have great scheme. Like, that's one of the things that makes them really good. They got a good scheme, and they execute it at a very high rate. By then, the universe knew we couldn't run, so the cat was out the bag too. We didn't run the ball well in the first matchup either, though, Jeff. I mean, go back and look at the numbers. We didn't run the ball great in that first matchup. Let me pull up the box score from the first matchup. It was week 5, September 25th. We had 117 yards rushing. 46 of those are from Jam on 16 carries, so an average of 2.9. Which I'm not gonna lie, I want to say a number of those carries came when it was 4-minute run the football, right? 4-minute offense. Kevin Riley had 10 carries for 30 yards, and then Jeremy Bernard was credited for 5 carries on 20 yards, right? So I mean, your actual 2 running backs, remember, because I don't remember Bernard necessarily like line up in the backfield. I think it was like jet sweep type stuff, trying to get creative to have extensions of the running game, right? I mean, your 2 backs, they went for 76 total. Caden Proctor, 1 carry for 11 yards. So if you take away Caden Proctor and Ty, so 76 yards between the running backs, right? Yeah. By the SEC championship game, we were running for 20 yards. Yeah. Again, and this isn't to sound like I'm trying to just knock our staff or anything. It's not. I promise I'm not. Again, I think Coach DeBoer is a really good football coach. I mean, I thought that when he came from Washington. I'm just pointing out some of the areas that need to improve. I mean, it's no different than when Coach Saban was a coach here. I mean, we pointed it out too. There's things that needed to be better when Coach Saban was here. It's not like everything was perfect. Offensive line play was not where it needed to be when Coach Saban was here. He had a problem with getting after the quarterback. Maybe his last year was 24. Who were our edge rushers that year? I can't remember who exactly was, but I don't think our pass rush was necessarily where it needed to be either. But yeah, no, you're good. I just always point that out because unfortunately, when you're in a time where like this fan base is kind of split, where you got some people that are like all in on Coach DeBoer, and you got some people that definitely have their frustrations. If you say one thing where, again, like with us, like I like Coach DeBoer a lot. I support him. I want him to do extremely well. But if I'm like honest and saying, hey, we need to be better here, the people that are, that will praise anything he does, because again, that's what happens when you have 2 parties. That's why, politics is like this. When you have parties, it's like instead of people just agreeing and finding common ground with common sense, people are just trying to find victories for themselves, and they take anything that doesn't go with what they think as an attack. So if I say, I can sit here and say, man, I love Coach DeBoer. I think he's a great coach. I think he'll be successful. But we got out-coached in this game. People on one side are going to take that as if I'm like hating or being negative. It's not that. It's just a fact, right? I mean, the numbers speak for itself. Even like with the stat that Dan Orlovsky had pulled up. Where is it at? Out here, I'll show it on the screen. Wait, I'm not on my bookmark tab. I was like, where is this thing at? I'm like, can't be that far. Just like with this stat. Like with this stat, I mean, it's interesting, like the perspective. I mentioned this yesterday. You know, on one end, people are like, man, the fact that they dragged this football team as far as they did, man, like you got to give Coach DeBoer credit. The way I view it is, man, as the head coach, I mean, that ultimately falls on you as well. Not to mention he's an offensive guy, so I mean, you can't just say like, oh man, like we're going to praise Coach DeBoer for getting us there with these stats, but then throw the blame only on Ryan Grubb as if like Coach DeBoer is not an offensive guy either, or just the head coach in general. You know what I mean? Like I just think you just got to be honest. And I'm not trying to point fingers at specific people. I'm just saying everybody plays a role in these numbers, right? And so they made a change to offensive line coach. You know, they parted ways, I should say, with Coach Cap. Was Braswell here in 24? Dallas Turner was here in 24. I think Dallas had left, right? Anyway, I bring this point up in saying like it's okay just to be honest and say, hey, like everybody, you know, you can't just say, oh, this was only on Ryan Grubb. That's not true. This was on Ryan Grubb. It's on Coach Cap. It's on Coach Gillespie. It's on Coach DeBoer. It's on the players. Everybody was responsible for the numbers you're looking at. So it's just got to be better, you know. It's got to be better. DeBoer stabilized Bama after an abrupt retirement from the goal. We should be thankful, but we do have some issues. Fix the most important thing, the O-line and D-line. You'll struggle until you do. Yeah. Trench play is critical, man. And I'd said this other day. That's the one of the biggest things that you know, just knowing how big of an issue those really both sides of the ball have been. I just personally would love to see I would love to see us go all in on the trenches, which we haven't done yet. We didn't do that this year. I mean, I know they got a couple guys on defense. I still personally I think they're good football players. I don't think they're elite, but I would love to see us really target elite players for our trenches. Like I would love to see that. Now, if they think they can find guys that aren't necessarily, you know, elite on paper and that they can find, you know, diamonds in the rough and develop them and make them elite, I mean, that would be great too. But I think ultimately, until you see like that trench play reestablished, you're only going to be so good, right? Your ceiling's only going to be so high with you know, average trench play. That's just it is what it is. I mean, like trench play could be the difference between, you know, 9-3 and 11-1. It's important. You think with the new O-line coach, Jackson Lloyd and Michael Carroll can be elite guys? I think Michael Carroll is definitely trending at being probably a future day one type player if you know he continues on the trend that it looks like he's on. I know he's moved to guard, but he's got elite athleticism for an offensive lineman. He's versatile, plays with a mean streak, has some technical things to clean up, great length. I mean, he checks pretty much all these boxes, man. The only thing is, like I mentioned, some fundamental things that you expect out of a true freshman. Watched him last football season. So, yeah, I definitely in agreement there. I think Jackson Lloyd can definitely be a good player as well. It's hard to kind of determine right now because it's, you know, a little bit more limited with what we've seen out of him. But he's got a lot of you know, positive traits and things that you would check off the list. But it's a little early for me to try to say that. But yeah, I would assume that he's definitely a strong candidate to being a really good player on that line. But I mean, I'm trying to give you guys like my perspective of like how I view this offensive line. Like you look at last year, you had Caden Proctor, who I get it. Now, he's first round pick, but definitely was not perfect at tackle. But I think if you told anybody they could have him at tackle, they would feel pretty good about it. A guy that ends up being a first-round pick, a little inconsistent due to whether it's conditioning, being a little overweight, doesn't move, great when it comes to going against speed rushers, but I mean, that's still a good football player. Parker Brailsford, I don't know where he ultimately goes in the draft, but he's a good football player. Then you had Michael Carroll, a young Michael Carroll last year, and the only other two guys, you had Dewberry, and then you had Javen James, right? So the way I view it is, I think Jackson Lloyd, if you go down the list, is Jackson Lloyd starting left tackle? Is Jackson Lloyd an upgrade from your first-round pick in Caden Proctor? To be determined. He could be from a fit perspective, an athleticism perspective. But how big of an upgrade is he over the guy that just got drafted in the first round? I mean, we'll have to see. I think he's definitely going to be better than Caden Proctor in some ways, but I think there's going to be some things that Proctor had over him as well. Moving in at guard, the expectation is a guy like Will Sanders to take that starting left guard spot. I think he should probably fit a little bit better than the likes of Dewberry, who was a big physical guy, but if it wasn't something where he could really just, put his paws on you, man, I mean, he struggled. So I think we could maybe say that could be a potential upgrade. Center, I like the new center, but I can't say that I think he's a better football player than Parker Brailsford. I don't think he's better. I think he can give you something similar of what you got out of Brailsford, but I wouldn't go as far as saying I think he's going to be a better player. He could end up being. That's just my opinion. And then right guard, now you got Michael Carroll there, which I mean I'm all good with. But at right tackle, from what I've seen out of Javen James, I don't know if I would call him a major upgrade over the likes of Wilkin Formby, who I know Wilkin definitely was very inconsistent, but you get my point. You also had Michael Carroll there at tackle last year. The whole thing I'm saying is, with the guys we had last year, these are the numbers that we saw. The people I just named, you got a couple guys that might be a little bit better athletes or a little bit better of a fit. Is that enough to drastically change these numbers? Personally, I don't think it's going to be drastically improved. It's going to be improved, but just by how much? That I don't know. Yeah, I mean, on paper, I would argue on paper, our offensive line last year looked better on paper. On paper, which doesn't matter. On paper doesn't win you games. But in terms of fitting in some of these traits that they have, I think they'll end up working out better. They also have a new coach, which is important. But I guess all I'm saying is, man, if it was me, though, I just would have said, hey, man, we can't afford to have – we really can't even afford just to have a questionable offensive line. Like, does that make sense, guys? Like I just would have just – that would have been my thought process. Yeah, I mean, I like the new offensive line coach. I like him, but I know he played the game, but he ain't putting the pads on though. But he definitely should help out though. Fall camp would be a big one. Yeah, so much unknown. 100%. I hope that statement about them getting better talent for cheap was about the offensive line. I don't really know. I don't know logistics on guys like, Dewberry, Brailsford. Yeah, I don't know. This regime is 500 after October. Is that a true stat? Is that a true stat? 500 after October. Hold on, let's pull up the schedule. Hold on. 500 after October. Wait, hold on. Isn't there a way to click? There used to be a way you can. There it is. Wait. 500 after October. So you said after October. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So in 24, they were 3-2 after October. In 25, they were, let's see, 3, 4. Is it 4-3 after October? Am I getting that right? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So what did I say? So 4-3 and 25. And what was the other one? Was it 3-2? I don't think that's not 5. Wait, hold on. Let me. Sorry, I'm tired, guys. I ain't gonna lie to you. So they're 4-3. 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. Hold on, guys. I'm normally good with math, man. 4-3, 5-3, 6-3, 6-4, 7-4, 7-5. So 7-5. So they're 7-5 after October. Do you think Courtney Morgan's doing a great job, or just me? I think he's doing so I was separated right into a couple different things, because really the job of the GM is, I mean, it's the overall, management of the roster, right? Which now consists of, you got high school recruiting, you got transfer portal additions, but you also have transfer portal subtractions, right? Which I would also deem as just roster, retention. So high school recruiting, transfer portal additions, roster retention. I would break it down into those 3 categories. For high school recruiting, I will give Courtney Morgan, again, it's not just him. There's a bunch of people involved, but we're talking about him specifically. I would give him an A in high school recruiting, in my opinion. I think 2 back-to-back top 5 classes is definitely a solid job. But not just that, looking at some of the players that they have signed that might not have been, the highest rated players, but ultimately have shown a lot of promise. I think we can probably say high school recruiting is definitely, up there with the likes of any other program right now. Transfer portal, I would probably, I guess we'll have to wait until we see this upcoming season. Transfer portal, though, I don't believe we've excelled there. Just my humble opinion. Transfer portal, if I had to give a grade, I would say maybe like maybe a B-. I think I could probably give it a B-. But then going back to roster retention, I would argue roster retention, I mean, probably around the A if you're talking about the guys that they brought on board. Now, we had a number of guys hit the portal who I believe were guys that could have really helped this football team. And I'm not trying to, not even the whole thing that I know HaHa was talking about, like the whole production thing. I'm just saying, I know James Smith has day one type upside and potential as a defensive tackle. I understand he never really got to it through his, 3 years that he was here. But I was expecting him to probably have a big year this upcoming season. Quay Russaw is one of those guys where I know people are kind of writing him off, but I'm just telling you guys, another really good football player, very physical guy that can set the edge, but he's also really explosive. He can run. I mean, I think he would have really been somebody that you could have put out there. Everybody was saying like, oh, Yonze took his spot. It's not true, man. I mean, you need multiple edge guys. Like, listen, I'm just telling you, we're talking about getting after the quarterback. Having Yonze out there, like we used to have like a Buck, who was a guy that could stand up, mug over the B gaps. You know what I mean? Like he could do different things. Sometimes he's dropping, sometimes he's working in, stunts as if it's like, from like 3 tech. Man, I feel like Quay would have been perfect for that. Quay would have been like the Buck. You put Yonze in there at the end, and you just have those guys just working. Sometimes they're both on the edges. But so I do believe he was definitely a loss. That said, though, but retaining their own guys that they brought in, because those guys are saving guys, I think they've done a really good job. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'll be honest, Agent. I think B- was like probably me being very, very optimistic for kind of what we've done. But we've done a nice job with some of the guys that we have brought in that might not necessarily been like big splash guys, but who we bring in last year via the portal? Let me think. That grade would be a lot higher. Like if and I don't necessarily see this happening, but if the offensive lines, these young guys that they brought in end up hitting and end up being like these great offensive linemen, I will be glad to boost that grade. But just as it sits right now and how things kind of, seemed a little bit this spring, I just feel like we might have missed a couple opportunities to really bolster the offensive line this offseason. You bet the trenches are underpaid compared to skill guys? That's probably not a bad take. I mean, I would imagine guys like, and I'm not pocket watching, but I would imagine guys like E.J. Crowell coming out of high school, Sedarian Morgan coming out of high school, those skill guys that are definitely going to be, when I say demanding, I'm not saying they're specifically demanding, but just saying like a caliber player like that, I would imagine they're probably demanding a pretty high number there. I'm trying to think of who we would be paying a lot of money to up front. I mean, if you're getting a trench guy out of the portal, typically you're paying a lot of money just because that's the market. You know what I mean? Like a Devin Tompkins type guy. I mean, you got to pay a lot for somebody like that. Some of the young offensive linemen, I don't know what they'd be getting made or what they would be getting paid, but let's see. Start picking wiser. Well, the other thing you got to remember too is, I mean, I guess if we just had a choice like that, it's one thing. But I mean, when you're talking about other schools offering a lot of money, I mean, you got to remember these guys like Courtney Morgan. I mean, they have to make a choice too. So you got to take that into consideration too. I mean, I don't think all of it is just because they're like, hey, man, we just don't really care about this player. I mean, a lot of it is logistics. I mean, you only got so much money to go around. Horn left for money. He was making $700K at Bama from what I heard. I think he was. I think I heard a similar number like that too. I mean, he definitely got a bump in what he was making by transfer. There's no doubt about it. We should have asked Brooks about him. I think Brooks had mentioned he was going off for Texas A&M. But I mean, I guess that but if they didn't feel like they wanted to pay him more money, I mean, that was their decision. But I get it, like we'll know more like as the season goes on. I mean, like if Horton ends up going off for A&M the way I think he might, I mean, I'm sure people are going to look back and be like, damn, I mean, we should have kept him, but that would have meant we had to pay him some more money. And listen, you can't really be mad at a guy like Horton either if you think about it, guys. I mean, like just like Coach DeBoer and these other coaches use leverage to get pay raises. I mean, why wouldn't these players do the same thing? We can't be mad at the player, especially when we see coaches pretty much doing the same thing. I mean, coaches are set on these contracts. Coach DeBoer still had like 5 more years on the contract, whatever it was, right? But they're able to. And again, not knocking him, right? That's what he should do. That's what everybody does. But we can't be mad at players for doing a similar thing. If they can use leverage to try to get some more money, if it's within the rules. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but why wouldn't they? Only guy you're mad at is Smothers. Yeah, I mean that sounded like it was a little bit of a bad business on his part, on his behalf. Definitely kind of sounded like that, but I hate to say it like this, but I mean these guys. I mean, no telling who's representing them. No telling what kind of advice they're getting. I mean, they might just have somebody basically saying, "Oh man, well, I know you already did this with Bama, but I mean, it's not signed, so let's just take this visit." Next thing you know, he's backing out of it. I don't know the young man personally, so I don't want to say too much about him, but definitely, I mean, from a business perspective, that is bad. That's bad ball on his part because I think they trusted that him enrolling was giving him their word that he was going to be here and all that good stuff. So no one's praying more than Greg. The job's in line of the extension. I don't know. What I gathered is this is my thought. I don't know. Maybe y'all's is different, but that extension, which again we talked about the logistics, right? Makes sense. kind of had to do something like that, being competitive in the market. We already know those things, but I would be completely shocked if we're still having the conversation, which I didn't think there was. I thought, depending on how this season went, it could determine whether there could be a little bit of a hot seat type situation. But I think after this whole extension, I think it's pretty clear, right? I mean, I think they're playing the patient game here, but you just never know. I mean, I guess you just never know, because I think realistically, the buyout, if terminated without cause, really only it went up, yes, but I think when you're talking about $60 million versus might be like 70 something now, even though that is a lot, it's still a lot. I guess you're kind of like trading a little bit more of a buyout for more stability and security. So then we just get a salary cap other than NIL deals. Hope we can still get the branded patches, because Bama could land the best deals. Yeah, well, you still have the people are supposed to be, following the whole revenue share cap, but the problem is a lot of these schools are utilizing, companies like Learfield. I'm sure you guys have heard of Learfield. They're, responsible, right? Like when I do work with the station, with the broadcast team, Learfield Communications, all that. I mean, these collectives, they're finding ways around all of it. So that's what all these other schools are doing. Signetti went undefeated, won a natty with 3 stars who aren't being paid nothing, no excuses. Now, I did just hear him talk about this. Now, they're not getting nothing. He did say his roster was between 15 million and 40 million, and it definitely leaned closer to 15 million. Those were his words. So it sounds to me like it was probably about a $20 million roster, which is, I think, in line with a lot of these top programs. Here's a clip.
Things I found hilarious as last season went on is the estimated cost of your roster seemed to balloon the more games you won. And you said, it wasn't even, not even close on a $40 million roster. Where do you guys actually fall? I'm not, you can give me exact numbers. That'd be great. But where do you fall in terms of how you handle this?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure who has that information or how public, or if the Big Ten has it or whatever. And I quit kind of Twitter there, or X now it's called, a while back, kind of learned my lessons. But I don't know why I responded to that. I just saw it, and it kind of hit me. What I will tell you honestly, okay, is our final number was closer to 15 million than 40 million. Now, obviously, it was somewhere in between.
And it worked. And you won. It's still, like, evaluation still matters. You can't just buy the best team, right?
Well, you got to get them all to play together and play the right way.
So, yeah. I see G Bama mentioned 22 million. I don't know. That would be in line with what he said, though. Closer to 15. Somewhere in the middle, but closer to 15. So I don't know. We'll have to see, man. That being said, I'm gonna get out of here. Got the NFL draft over the weekend. We'll talk about it much more in length on Monday. I'll make sure we get some more interviews and guests lined up for next week, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. If you guys missed Brooks Austin joining us, film guy, I'm going to cut that portion and post it separately so you guys can go back, or if you missed it, you can see it. And we'll definitely talk some draft Monday. I'm trying to think of what else big is going on next week that I might be forgetting, but we'll definitely get you guys covered, whatever that is. Appreciate you as always, man. I hope you guys have a great weekend. On your way out, if you haven't already, man, hit that like button. We appreciate it. That helps us out, helps us do more of these collabs and all these things that we plan on doing here in the future. So help us out there. Road to 5K. I know a little bit different than Brooks's road to 100K on YouTube, but we're on our road to 5K and we're getting close. So help us out there, man. Subscribe if you haven't. Share the video, share the channel. If you know anybody that you think would enjoy listening to the show, man, spread the word. We appreciate it, man. That helps us out tremendously. With that said, y'all have a great weekend. Appreciate you guys as always. And we'll see you guys Monday right here on the Miller's Edge. Same time, same place.